31 of the SANFL, and it pits Central District up against Port Adelaide. And I can tell you, the conditions here at Elizabeth have not been perfect this afternoon. We've had quite a bit of rain, the kids at least enjoying the conditions, and not really great for football.
Oh, it's a terrible day for football, Neil, but these are the games that we've got two tough teams today, Central versus Port Adelaide, and they really excel in these conditions. So I think we're looking for an interesting, hard, tough match.
Well, Central's last week, in contrast to this afternoon, played in perfect conditions at the Adelaide Oval. Norwood, they gave them a start, didn't they? And they didn't score a goal, Central's, until I think it was about the 8-minute mark of the second term. And then from there, they just took over.
Central's have had the ability to give teams head starts and came back, and they've just got the experience now with key players who've done that time and time again. And that's why Central Districts have been at the top of the table for 4 or 5 years now.
As we look at these highlights, Josh Coulter, he's become an important player for them up forward, hasn't he?
Well, he's an exceptional player, and I'm sure he's some player, and as we can see, he'll just do a prodigious kick from the left leg, and he's got to be certainly on the list of some talent scouts of some AFL clubs, and we'll see this another player, young Sansbury. He's been around the Central District for a few years now, but against a quality opponent, Massey, turns him inside out, and Central Districts, they've got some young players who are coming through that can keep them at the top of the table.
And they are able to bring those players through into a very good side, aren't they?
Well, they are. Young Killen, unfortunately, got dropped for this game today, but played an integral role last week, and again he kicked a goal there to Centre. And as we can see, Norwood certainly had their opportunities, but Central Districts, just with experience, came out the fore at the end.
Just the 6 points, the margin there. In contrast, the next day when Port played Sturt, the conditions were awful, and in those conditions Port excelled, which is probably a pointer to this afternoon's game.
Well, they come to this game with some confidence. Like last week, Central they played not that well, but got over the line, which is a good sign. But Port Adelaide had some key players that come back in: Jared Polton, Kane Ackland, and Brian Binky. And I think 3 quality players just got some inner confidence of the team, and they came out and gave Sturt a real footy lesson in wet conditions, so they know how to play the wet conditions as they will play today.
Nathan McDowell, one of the players there, kicking 5 goals, a little bit unexpected, popped out of nowhere. Sturt was certainly in that contest, but in the end, they did get overrun somewhat by the pressure of Port Adelaide.
Well, again, they were like Norwood. Sturt had the scoring opportunities to put the score on the board, but unfortunately they didn't. And when you got players like number 4 here, Platt, to come through, and Sturt, as we see, 14 goal 11, converts to 20 goals 8. You know, the old cliche, good football is good goal kicking.
We look Port Adelaide against Centrals, and 78 wins to 30, and I would have thought that figure would have been looking even uglier a few years ago before Centrals have won premierships and got a run on. And just last night, of course, the round got underway with the Eagles beating Norwood. Again, poor conversion from Norwood, 10 points to the final margin. We will have the highlights at quarter time of that game. And as a result of that game, the premiership table looks like this. The top 4 is settled and done, but Port Adelaide sitting in 5th. Perhaps as an argument that we should have kept the top 5.
Well, yeah, but mathematically they can make it, but Sturt have to lose 2 games and lose 4%. But Central's, on the other hand, if they win today and West lose tomorrow, they'll seal the minor premiership.
Look at those leading goal kickers, and interesting 3 Port players who've done very well, and yet they haven't been able to kick on against some of the lesser sides even.
Well, true, and so you got Evans, Binky and Platt sitting up there with 30 goals apiece, and then Chris Gowans is sitting, he's not on screen at the moment, but he's got 33 goals, and Central Districts are sitting on top, and they haven't got a goal kicker in the top 10.
Well, we've mentioned the weather. In fact, we showed you some of the weather, and Sodas is enjoying it on the boundary line.
Thanks, Neil. Hello, everyone. It is an absolute shocker weather-wise here. The ground is muddy. Fortunately, there's no breeze at the moment, which is the only positive, but the rain was very heavy earlier. It has stopped now, which is a good sign. We can expect a top of 16 degrees, perhaps even some thunderstorms a little bit later on. Now, just before, the Blind Sporting Council was raising some money with their Blind Leading the Blind promotion.
Yes, we see some of the guys coming out onto the ground, including Nick Korosta, who's a cricketer. He played 3 games for Australia at the World Cup in India in 2002. 47 matches for South Australia, the fastest bowler in blind cricket at the moment. And also in there, Tim Haggis, a cricketer and all-rounder who's played 43 games for South Australia. Mark Haskett, a cricketer, 11 matches for South Australia. And Jason Smith, who competed for SA for 15 years in the Oceania and Asian Championships. So, yes, great stuff over a long period of time, about 5-6 years. The umpires have raised about $25,000. And fantastic. Now we're going down for the coin toss with another blind athlete.
Well, thanks, Neil. I'm joined by Anthony Clark here, 96 gold medal at the Paralympics in judo and the reigning Australian judo champion at the moment. Anthony, how's things going looking for Athens next year?
Well, Preparation's going well. I just qualified at the World Championships in Canada 2 weeks ago. They took the top 12 in the world. I came in 9th, so I've secured a spot for Australia for the judo in the Paralympics in Athens.
Well, absolutely magnificent. Good luck with that. Now, who's your tip today, Centrals or Port?
Well, my guide dog's going for Centrals with the doggy connection, and I'm going for the Magpies, of course, and I think the Magpies will fly a bit higher today, so they're going to come through, in my opinion. But if I'm wrong, the dog's going to run me into a pole, I think. So.
No worries. You're all right, mate. We'll just get you to toss the coin here. Yep, just toss it there. Braden Lyles called heads, tails it is. So Central Districts will be kicking down to the scoreboard end. Back to you, Neil.
Thanks for that, Sodas. As we look at the Central District lineup, quite a card, Anthony Clark, isn't he? As we look at that lineup, look, strong. In a word, it is.
It's full of experience, and also full of youth with some, we talked about Calder, Sainsbury, young Krieg in the forward pocket. But today's not going to be a marking day, and the player that I think will really take control today is Graham at centre forward. He can take a ground, but took a good mark, but on the ground he's quite good. And Harada, he'll have to play a big game today. He's on Evans, so Harada's a bit taller, but Evans is a bit smaller. And again, the forwards are going to play, it's not going to be a high-scoring game, but the ball's going to be on the ground a lot. It's going to be scrappy, so the tenacity of both teams will play a huge way in the game.
Now, what's let Port down? Because you look at that side on paper and you think, gee, what a good lineup. And, they have beaten Central District this season. They've beaten Sturt last week. They've beaten the Eagles. They've done everything except, by the looks of it, make the finals.
Well, I think that we talked about having key players coming back in that team. When you look at that full forward line and Binky, Ackland, and then you also got young McDowell, he kicked 5 last week. That's a potent forward line. And then you've got Tony Brown, McGarry medalist, and also Paul Evans, who's a premiership player. So, again, Port Adelaide, I think, maybe found form at the wrong time of the year, and I think maybe a lack of injuries and a lack of cohesion between the unit made it cost them early on.
Yeah, they did have a lot of players, like you say, coming into that side, Evans and Platt, and some of those guys, and of course Tony Brown was missing for most of the year as well. On the other hand, this lineup, as we said, able to bring players into the lineup, the younger players, into a settled lineup, a strong, cohesive unit that's been playing together for 3-4 years.
And we just, we're always amazed that Roy Lev, this is his first time that he's coached Central Districts. This year has been the reserves coach last year and taken to a premiership. But again, it's a credit to the coaching staff and the hierarchy of the Central District Football Club to keep this core group of players together.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because Alastair Clarkson was well liked by the players. There was no problems there at all. But having departed, gee, they've still gone on to maybe bigger and better things.
Should be a great game anyway.
Okay, ready for the first bounce. Here's Michael Maney.
Thanks, Neil. A water-clogged Elizabeth Oval. And should have a low-scoring game today, but both sides very skilled. Umpires Fox, Ryan and Williams. They'll be tested once again in the conditions. Round 21 of SANFL football. Port Adelaide 9-9. There's Damien Arnold, who has made his return after a long-term back injury for the Bulldogs. Central's 14-3. Craig Parry has been probably the ruck revelation of the 2003 season for Port Adelaide. He will probably poll very well in this year's McGarry medal. Just about ready for the first quarter of round 21. No rain just at the moment. It will be a long, tough day for the 42 players. Umpire throws it up, as you would expect, in the middle. Who's the first one to get a free kick? It's the Dogs. Umpire will call it back. No advantage in that. There's Heath Hopwood.
He's struggling a bit there. He caught both knees fair in the face from Julian Wade. We're trying to pick that up.
He's a bit groggy.
He's a bit groggy.
Goes the handball to Healy, as trainers should come from everywhere, but I haven't seen anyone go out. There's one out there now. Tyson Hay, well, you can see just how ordinary the conditions are. There's Heath Hopwood. He's a bit of a mess, and it's taken about 14 seconds for him to get like that.
Is that blood or mud?
That'll be blood. And actually interesting to find that Roy Laird's placed Heath Hopwood in the centre square instead of his half-back flank, and Daniel Shell's gone to full-back, picking up Brian Binky instead of playing his formal customary role up forward.
On centre wing, Marco Bello in there, Kingsley. They dive on the football. This is what we'll get for most of the day. You'll earn your money today, Julian Burton, because we'll get plenty of ball-ups and not too many fast breaks as Simon Arnott prepares to come on.
We might go straight down to Mark Soderstrom with that.
Yeah, he has Simon Arnold straight onto the ground. Heath Hopwood looking very groggy. He's being escorted straight down to the change rooms, Julian.
That's an unfortunate start as we watch Heath Hopwood try and negotiate what would normally be a pretty easy set of steps for him, but looks a bit tentative there. Another throw up. We might see more of that next year. The SANFL may well opt for getting away with the bounce of the ball. Chris Gowans will get a free kick being held back.
Another rule that I think that the umpires are going to really take careful look at is kicking in danger today. The players will be diving on the wall, so they've got to set a standard right from the word go.
Gowans goes to the Torps. Waite in best position. Over the back to Sainsbury. He's got players on the far side of the ground running for him. Arnott's out there as well, but it's taken... And Swatala gives it to Arnott. So here's Arnott with his first kick, having been on the ground to replace Hopwood. Not the greatest of kicks, and Fegert comes out and marks it from full back for Port Adelaide. This side of the ground, his kick wasn't the greatest. We'll probably see a lot of that this afternoon. We'll see a lot of that too, as soccer off the ground from Chris Gowans. Ineffective. Here's Funk. Funk's kick low and hard. O'Loughlin couldn't take it in. Harassed. Sainsbury gets the head pass out to Chris Gowans. Thought he might have tried a torp again then, but he leant back on the ball. It's in the Central's forward line. Clayton took him on, then looked for the boundary. Funk will probably... Oh no, I thought he might have scored it over. Ashley ducks the head. Funk's kick wasn't the best. Bello always attacks the ball hard. Now Steinburner, is it? Can't get it away. Off the ground, kick forward. And finally Lyle tidies it up, and Bamford comes away from the back.
Bamford's kick finds Tony Brown. This from half-back, long kick. Looking for Miller. That's a good mark in the conditions. Harry Miller wants to square it up into the middle to the running Ebert. Ebert on a full burst, kicks it long. At the back, Benke. Good knock away by Daniel Shell, playing in defence, kicked off the ground by Benke. Rolling, tumbling ball, Plapp. Oh, well, I thought he could have gone off the ground. Did that go through for behind? Plapp around the body.
I think it might have just rolled over.
I think it did. Can't understand why Plapp didn't go off the ground.
No, I actually thought that he might have just kicked it off, maybe a tight angle. If we again have a look at this, Justin Plapp, ex-Richmond player, could have just tapped, but maybe he saw Nathan Steinberg come out of his corner very high and he thought, I'll just try and pick it up. Port Adelaide going the zone. For people sitting at home, that's as players form 3 lines over the 50. Just a new technique a lot of even AFL clubs are using, and amateur clubs.
The big kick in from Hay, trying to undo the zone. Central's with all the players. Hereda off the ground. Up towards Slade, couldn't take it. Now Bello over it. Bello's taken off the ball. Quick hand pass from Arnold. Came out to Hereda, and the 2 veterans get the ball towards centre half forward. From behind came Gowans. Chris Tight gave it back to his brother. That was instinct. His brother, though, wasn't perhaps ready for it. Now Waite bursting through. Got the hand pass forward to the play. Ebert, one of the favourites perhaps for the Magarey medal this year. Up towards half forward. Over the back. O'Loughlin works into a bit of space off the left leg. Good kick by O'Loughlin. Well done. And on the lead came Plapp, and he'll have a shot at goal from perhaps 35 metres.
And that was very well done by Justin Plapp. You can't see it on screen. Mickey O'Loughlin looks up, left leg, but Justin Plapp off screen put his hand up, pointed to his left side, and Ricky O'Loughlin good enough, skillful enough to put it in. Justin Plapp kicked 3 last week. He's had a couple of bags of 5 this year, so this will be the first goal on the board for Port Adelaide and give them a good start.
We know Centrals are adept at giving away starts, but at the moment it doesn't really cost them. Only 2 behinds on the board, both of them to that man there on screen, Justin Plapp.
That's a good start for Justin Plapp, standing a quality opponent.
What, the kicking, you mean?
No.
Well, if you're used to playing in these sort of conditions, Julian, back at home at West Park in Burnie, where the grounds conditions today are very similar to what Justin would have outer side of the ground. Healy can't keep it in. We'll get a free kick for being held without the footy.
The key today, Michael, though, is the player's ability to handle the ball, even though it's wet. The team that can handle the ball with one clean grab and hand it off and get it on long and quick will have the advantage all day.
Long kicks will be the order of the day. Not too many handballs and short kicks. Nice mark by Clayton at the front by just getting in front, working his way into the contest. Lyle kicks it long. Evans has the fly from the back. Arnold just held his ground. This gives off to Healy. Healy spots Swatala. It's a one-on-one with Kingsley. Kingsley at the front takes a lovely mark. Just backing back into Swatala.
And he'll be trying to play a good solid game today, getting back into that Port Power team for the finals.
Miller's short kick finds Ashley. Ashley, they go to Plapp again. So Plapp just leading them a merry dance at the moment up forward.
He is. He's standing young Brooks, Stephen Brooks, 21 years old, 5 games, so he's standing an inexperienced player, but it's a good challenge for young Brooks.
Hooked his last kick, Plapp, this time. Just goes to the right-hand side, so 3 behinds to Port Adelaide, and Justin Plapp has all 3.
And he's got to make the most of these opportunities in wet conditions. You know, these, and he's disappointed on screen. You can see that, hands on the hips. He knows he's had 3 opportunities. He could have 2 goal 1 at least. But again, these opportunities are crucial because this is the start that Port wanted, though. I suppose they're peppering the goals in a fine manner.
Josh Coulter down there on the bench, sitting and waiting, and also down there was Schooler. So ball back in, and well done. Kingsley just showing his AFL experience there, holding off Steinburner, former teammates actually at the Power. Now back inside 50, from behind, the big punch came from Shell. Pareda first to the ball. Now they clear it, Thomas, and then wide to Arnott. Arnott looking for James Gowans. Not a bad kick, Gowans. Faked as if he got one in the back. Now he'll go with the hand pass to Bello. Shows a clean pair of heels, Bello. Up inside 50. This will be interesting. See if somebody can grab the ball cleanly. They couldn't. Umpire says it's a free kick in any case. He'll bring it back. So Central's to take a free kick, and they haven't had too many effective forward entries thus far. As we said, it hasn't really cost them because Port Adelaide have not made the most of their efforts up forward. That was a simple mark dropped by Fegert, and we'll probably see many of those this afternoon. Ball out of bounds before it goes anywhere.
As we can see on screen, Mark Clayton growing a beard. Usually a clean cut young lad, but today showing a bit of maturity, a bit of growth. And Michael down at Tasmania probably need a bit of hair around your chops down there, wouldn't it? A bit cold weather.
Need plenty down there, Julian. Average temperature in winter about 9 degrees.
In summer, 9.5.
Very close. Central's try and work something out. Arnott, who's been missing for several weeks. Loose kick inside the 50. Swatala tried to go with the footy. They dive on top of him. Brooks, who's gone forward. Graham shares it with Slade. No more rain, please. High kick. Thumped away by Archie. Sansbury, who's very clever. James Gowans kick smothered, boundary throw-in.
Great work by Corey Archie. We'll cross down to Mark Soderstrom with the Port Adelaide bench.
Thank you, Julian. Kane Ackland, Matthew Sakunis and James Wilson, the 3 boys sitting on the pine for the Magpies.
And they look very cold.
Don't worry, mate, it is absolutely freezing down here. You're looking nice and warm up there in the box.
And your gum boots, Mark, I'm sure you haven't worn those gum boots since you're about 12 years old.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, when you walk out of the race, there's actually a river going across there, so they are definitely needed today.
I think we're going to see a river of goals. Another big pack. Free kick has been picked out against James Gowans, I think it is.
Oh,
beautiful
flowing
stuff.
Stream.
The average front lawn in Tasmania there.
No, river, that's a stagnant lawn, isn't it?
Ebert. Long kick. Arnold at the back. Good mark. Just about slipped out of the hands. Handball over the top. It's Steinburner in all sorts of trouble. Well played by Ricky O'Loughlin working to the line.
That'll be a good duel today, Ricky O'Loughlin versus Nathan Steinburner. I suppose it won't be much a free-flowing game today, so as a tagger role, Nathan Steinburner's, I suppose, job today has been helped by the weather conditions.
Oh, the ruckman able to get an effective hand on the ball. Krieg got it back to Arnott. Gee, sweeps well at the back. Now up forward from Slade. His kick in towards Brooks. Did well to get to the front, Brooks, but then couldn't hang on to it. Archie, one of the best defenders in the business, gets it away. Port works it out. Finally, Brown's loose. Binky. Brown was at the front. The punch went straight past them all to McDowell. His kick was pretty effective up towards half forward. And Miller dancing, as he always does. His kick wasn't the best to Plapp, who made the lead. Off the hide, came from behind, soccer off the ground. O'Loughlin will be first to the ball. Looks around. His kick this time hits Plapp. And for the second time this afternoon, Plapp, oh, he's called a play on. Off the hide did well. And so did Plapp to come back. Now it's Hay. And he would love to make hay while the sun shines, but it ain't going to shine today.
Gonna be a lot of cliches today. A magnificent smother by Justin Plapp, as you can see here. Took a mark, got asked to play on, but his second effort would have been very impressive. And that's what the forwards are going to have to do. They're going to have to work hard to keep the ball in their forward 50.
Here's O'Loughlin, just thumps it up high. And Swatala under it. The punch came from the Port Adelaide side. Plapp, quickly, back, round the corner. Big kick, long and high from Kingsley, and it's a goal!
That is a great, magnificent snap by Adam Kingsley. I don't know if there's much wind down there. We might go down to Mark Soderstrom in a minute to see if there's any wind affecting the ball, but Adam Kingsley, good fist forward, puts himself in a position, that's experience, then snaps it around, maybe not hoping for a goal, but putting it to the top of the goal square. And we'll just duck down to Mark Soderstrom. Mark, is there any wind conditions down there affecting the ball game today?
No, Julian, it is very still. If you get a look over the windsock by the scoreboard, you can see that it is hanging limp.
Limp. Hanging
Don't go
limp.
there. Don't go there.
Let's get back to the football. In the middle, Slade, Ashley. And he got small purchase on that. Arnold locked up by Ashley in the middle. No prior opportunity there. And
well, there's that
there
limp flag. Wow.
Don't go there.
Don't go there again.
Brown, kicked off the ground by Gowans. Forward. Brother Chris tries to go again. Sainsbury, who's been lively in the first term. Steinburner. Task here. Firstly, pick the ball up. Secondly, keep it in. Can't do either. In goes Sainsbury. Kicked off the ground. Healy. High floating kick. The back bellow. Stayed down. So too James Gowans. Round the body. James Gowans just misses to the left-hand side. Front and square, Julian Burton. That's where you need to be.
That's his bread and butter. And James Gowans will be disappointed with himself there because he usually actually kicks those. He's kicked those in grand finals to bring the Seymour Cup back to the Elizabeth Oval. But James Gowans again front and centre, and again the ball's going to come forward, and that's what the forward's going to have to do. And the defenders will be pushing the ball forward, and players of his experience, James Gowans, will just be sitting there waiting for the ball to come forward and hopefully grab a couple of goals for himself and also the Central Districts Footy Club.
Chris and James both have 33-17 for the season now.
That's identical.
That's I tell you, Moggy, that's rigged, Moggy. We better suss that out, but that's not.
I got one for you.
They're playing that, without doubt.
They might be kicking goals the same, but James Gowans gives away more free kicks than any other player in the competition. And he's also top 10 in free kicks received. Slade makes a tackle, asks for a free kick from the umpire. Still the ball trapped in there. We'll get a bounce down.
And again, the players here, Port Adelaide here, should have, good shepherd, but Adam Kingsley should have got on the boot, tried to muck him around with the ball. Port Adelaide, they must get it forward. They've got the key forwards down there. Move it forward quickly.
Sutala just getting it forward. Bello might get an opportunity to run onto it. Bello holds his feet. Now he makes a tackle too high, said the umpire. Marco Bello gives away a free kick. I think the only stat category in the top 10 that features two players from Central District is tackling. Not highly unexpected. Marco Bello and Chris Gowans in the top 10 tacklers in the competition. Bello there giving away a free kick. Kingsley takes a short kick that really put him under pressure.
It's interesting why Port Adelaide are trying to go short there, Neil, instead of just getting it long. Maybe the forwards, Paul Evans, have to push up to the wing position to create a contest.
Now inboard goes the kick, round about centre half back. Bamford goes wide again. They're trying to open it up. Archie's the next man in the chain. He leads for Fegert. Archie goes to him. Does well. And still, that's a one-on-one contest, and Brooks did well. Farmed it out. Graham, I think it's the first time I've called him this afternoon. Gowans quickly onto the boot, again going from the top. James Gowans beaten that time by Brown. Hasn't had much of a season after breaking his leg late last year. Comes out to Parry, the big ruckman. He's got one running for him in Funk. Funk has weight. He can't get to him, and in the end he waits too long. Umpire didn't call that. That's upset the crowd. Now Kingsley around the corner. That was sloppy. That will not get you an AFL game, especially a finals game, Adam Kingsley.
It won't, but the tackle by Big Scholar was magnificent. That would have impressed Roy Laird. Coming on to replace, gets his 15 minutes. And to tackle that should have been deservedly paid holding the ball. For a 6'10" bloke or 6'8" bloke to get down on his knees and tackle. Magnificent effort.
We saw him pull off a couple of good tackles last week too. Adelaide Oval. Ashley to Brown to Waite. They're out of trouble. Ebert. Kick looking for Evans in front of Hereda. Had a man running for him in Lyle. May chip to him. He's going to have to run onto it. Good stretch by Lyle. The lead's from Plapp. Good kick, good delivery. Good lead by Plapp. He may want to go on. He's run around. Will go short into the pocket, and Benke, just in the fingertips, took the mark. Deep in that pocket. That's pretty tough.
Justin Plapp's getting a lot on the ball. He might cross to Moggy in a minute to find out his stats. But Brian Benke, why Brian Benke's is lining up? Moggy, what's Plapp's stats?
I can tell you in a second, Julian, he's had 4 marks, 4 kicks and a handball.
That's not bad. That's more than I've had ever in a game, I think.
You love these conditions, you told me earlier. Kick by Benke is a beauty. That is a great kick from there. Heavy, slippery ball, angle. Lovely goal by Brian Benke. And he kicks goal number 37 for the year.
And that's right, Michael. You're saying it's a heavy, slippery ball, and Justin Plapp's creating some headaches for the Central District's defence. But Brian Benke just picked it up. Like you said, heavy, slippery ball, and these are the goals. These are the tough shots you're going to have in a wet day, and these are one that you've got to nail. And Port Adelaide, you know, a bit of fancy defence, but when they get it down to the forward line, they've got key forwards, as we talked about in pre-match. Benke, Plapp, Evans, and other targets you've got to use in either wet weather or dry football.
Well, Justin Plapp making a wise decision. His goal kicking's been terrible so far. Gave it to Benke. His goal kicking's been perfect. Plapp 0 from 3 shots. Kicking 3 behinds. And Benke with that goal to give a 14-point lead to the Magpies. It's a good start here at Elizabeth. Have we got a blood rule? We have. No, we haven't. Wait on. What was that rule then?
Stop bleeding.
Above the head's a blood rule, and below the knees is stop bleeding, obviously. The ball comes down. It's in the Magpies forward line again. McDowell kicked 5 last week, can't even touch the ball at the moment. Magpies putting good pressure on in their forward area. Harry Miller, head in the air, but the umpire will come in and bounce.
That hit out won by Daniel Healy was Central's first. Craig Parry's won the first 9, all for the Magpies.
Craig Parry, been a revelation, in fact. He's in the top 10 with hit-outs. Ball down to ground, and another opportunity for Craig Parry, perhaps.
And this is where they might need a second jumper today, where the ball's up and there's a lot of players around. Maybe Port Adelaide might have a second jumper. He comes over the top and punches the ball forward.
I thought you mean it was cold and he was going to wear a second jumper, but anyway.
Or I thought you were coming.
Neil Cross, I reckon you would have been one of the players to wear the long sleevers.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
You see my arms? I don't want to show my arms off any more than I have to. Thank you very much.
I know Mark Soderstrom never used to wear long sleeves because he didn't want his arms to be shown all the time.
The ball. Yes, stop-start play if you've just joined us. 14 points the margin. We're just a minute away from time on in the opening quarter, and it's been a good start by the Magpies. Inside their forward line again. Parry with the hand pass back to Benke off one step, and Plapp pushed away. Umpire said it was touched off the boot, and that certainly wasn't touched. And Plapp, you would guess, is much better from a snapshot than he has been from set.
Thinking, why did he play on? But it was touched off the boot. The umpire called it, and he was good enough from tight into the forward pocket, as you can see, just to bend it around the corner, play on. And that is a difficult shot. He missed some easy ones, and he's nailed the hard ones. And that'll certainly give him confidence and the players around him to say Justin Plapp's probably on the fire. And when you've got a player up forward who's dominating the play like Justin Plapp is, you probably use him all the time at the moment.
Good early lead to Port Adelaide, out by 20. Early goals will be very, very valuable on a wet, slogging day. School up against Ashley. Bit of edge in pace. Here comes Plapp again. Just runs off to Hyde. Breaks the tackle. He's got a man. Short. Evans. Well played, Justin Plapp. He's on top of his game. Loves these conditions. As I mentioned earlier, coming from Tasmania, from Burnie, where the West Park Oval is a quagmire during winter, and he is revelling in the conditions. And Paul Evans has been a goal kicker too, Julian. He's kicked 41 goals for the year.
Leading goalkeeper for the Port Magpies in 2003.
Lining up from 25 metres out directly in front. Another goal to the Maggies. Well, this is beginning to be a very, very good first quarter. A long way back, even at this early stage, for the Bulldogs.
And in wet weather football, you usually double your lead. And Justin Plapp, bit of leg strength there, broke away, good vision. And Brian Harada just probably a bit off his man, as we can see. And Paul Evans playing at centre half forward, usually his customary roles at full forward. but he goes to 42 goals. And the key forwards up today, like we talked about, Evans has got one, Binky's got one, Plapp's got one, another top 3 goal kickers for the Port Magpies this year. So Central District's down by 26 points. That's a big margin to wet weather football.
Well, back in the middle, Schooler comes over the top. Parry perhaps had a bit of that as well. Ebert just hand passes it forward. Umpire said he threw it, in fact, so it wasn't a hand pass. Now Thomas off half back and running up on the forward line. Double fister coming in from Fegert towards the boundary, and now Fegert just carries his man over too high, said the umpire. Brooks will take the free kick.
That's a big touch. I thought Nigel Fegert played that well. Double fisted, went for the boundary line, didn't go for the mark, brought the ball forward. Just unfortunate, young Brooks just got him too high.
The incongruous stat is that Centrals have been inside 50 more often than Port.
Port Adelaide's more systematic today, Moggy.
As they were on Sunday, Julian.
Very true, Moggy.
That would be last Sunday, when in these sort of conditions Port Adelaide accounted for Sturt Football Club. Good mark taken there, tumbling backwards Hay for Centrals. Now Hay squares it up, that's dangerous. Lurking was O'Loughlin, good tackle, whack. Down he goes, will get a bounce virtually in the centre of the ground. James Gowans will want to push and shove.
But that was well played.
In fact, he didn't.
That was well played by James Gowans, because if the ball felt free, you know, it's Port Adelaide were moving forward again. So even though he got tackled, he held the ball into him, so a clever play.
If this counts as a centre break, Thomas just belts the ball forward. Lyle pushed his man Sansbury under the ball, then gave it off to Bamford. Bamford comes wide. He looks for O'Loughlin, opposed to Steinberner, who did well, but just couldn't get it to the line. O'Loughlin's bump was effective in the end. His kick was too. And touch one side of the line and the other, said the umpire. And Paul Evans was not happy about it.
He's moving well, Paul Evans, creating, making some good position as centre forward on a wet day. Big oval, but he's making Brian Harada stick to his tote.
And I think Port's delivery too has been terrific. Their kicking in these conditions has been spot on. Ashley thought he went too far with the footy, got one around the ear to boot, but the umpire said you dropped the football. Free kick to Chris Gowans. At half back for the Bulldogs. Under siege at the moment. Clayton, that's a good mark. Eyes on the footy.
I think Port Adelaide are really hitting the ball a lot harder than Central Districts, getting into position a lot earlier, reading the play better, and that's why they're really controlling play at the moment.
Centrals were sluggish in their first term last week against Norwood. Over the back, Shell, who's gone back. McDowell just gives it to Benke, ridden into the ground. Shell again. Kick will go out on the full. Now the umpire right there, Matty Ashley, to take the kick. Daniel Shell. Kick into the hot spot, knocked away by Shell again. Healy, Slade, ball slips out the back. Plapp just got a toe poke on it. Slade, ridden into the ground, no free kick. Ball in dispute. Wait, can't go through. Scrappy piece of play. Hay, Healy just jammed it on the boot. Chopped off by Brown. Brown wants to go short into the pocket. Plapp couldn't take the mark. Free kick against Daniel Healy. Just jumped in there. And Justin Plapp will take a free kick, and he earned that one. Just diving for the footy, and, well, umpire right there on the spot. Free kick to Justin Plapp. He's kicked 1 goal free in this first term, 37 for the year, and has been a live wire up forward for the Magpies. They lead by 26 points with just about 5 minutes into time on.
And Michael, very important kick in at time on. He's kicked 1 goal 3, but just put 2 goals 3. That's 5 scoring shots. Roy Laird might have to make some changes, but a very important shot.
Plapp from 30. That's a great kick. That is a very, very good kick by Justin Plapp. He gets his second, and the Magpies skip away. And Julian Burton last week, Central District, only 2 behinds in the first term against Norwood. They're looking at 1 behind in this term.
Yeah, it would be very interesting to see if they can come back from here, because last week they played on a beautiful sunny day where they can use the ball freely. Port Adelaide are just playing good, solid football, getting to their key forwards, and Justin Platt just put his body on the line. Might have got injured, but then to get up and kick 2, got a strong goal again, just similar to Brian Binky. And I think now we'll just cross down to Mark Sutter to see Simon Arnott.
Yes, Simon Arnott, he did come off and have a break, but he's moving all right, so I think it's probably just a little rest because he has missed a couple of weeks with his driver injury.
Kingsley round the corner. Ebert did it well and trapped it off the left leg. He'll go inside 50 surely. He does. Long and Platt from the back. Oh, he got a leap. He got away from off the hind to get that leap. In the end, he couldn't pull it down. Central's under pressure. Healy takes the mark. And they trail by 20 points against Norwood at quarter time last week. They're looking at a 32-point deficit at the moment, close to quarter time. Bello made his way to the front in front of Bamford. A left footer as well. Central's quite a number of them. Now Bello takes his time, eventually down towards centre wing, looking for Schooler. Ackland, who's come on at some stage, got Schooler away from the ball, and it's over the boundary line, centre wing. And it is a struggle. Let's have a look at Justin Plapp's leap. Oof.
He got the ride.
Yeah, just the hand there, I think, from Evans might have put him off somewhat. I think if he'd grabbed it, though, the umpire would have said, yep, all clear. Now Gowan's off the left foot, up towards centre half forward, but Lyle chips in with the mark. Feagit breaks immediately to this side. Lyle will come this way, straight to Feagit. Under pressure from Sansbury. Well done by Sansbury. Quarter time siren beats him, though. 27-minute opening term, fairly short as you'd expect, but Port Adelaide made the most of the opening term, didn't they? 5 goals, 3-33 to Central's lonely behind.
8 scoring shots to 1 just really reflects the game. Corey Archie on screens really nullified his opponent. The defence back 6 was Adam Kingsley also playing in front, pushing the ball forward, and they've got key forwards up there that was seen early on. And I think, would people have expected Central Districts to be 32 points down New Cross at quarter time?
A bit extraordinary, isn't it, as we look at those goal kickers, and obviously with Central's only kicking it behind, it's a clean slate on that side of the ledger, but Port Adelaide, Justin Platt, did well after kicking 3 points to start the day.
And would you'd have to make a change with if you're Roy Lee, what would you be thinking right now?
Oh no, I think you'd keep going, wouldn't you? I mean, it is a wet day, you give your players a chance, and as we see there, still the stats, as you'd expect, dominated by Port Adelaide, who in some ways used a lot of the ball or overused it in the back half.
I think the hit-outs might tell a story as well, giving first use to the runners. Craig Parry, Kane Ackland have been dominant in the centre square and round the gown against 2 experienced players in Damien Arden and Paul Scholar, and I think Roy Led might be focusing on his midfielders to get the ball firstly, especially the ruckman.
Yes, well, we're going to have a look at last night, and the opening of the round started with Norwood against the Eagles at the parade, and as you can see, a fairly wet night, as it was a fairly wet,
isn't it?
Fairly wet afternoon here as well at times.
Oh, I think Norwood started well with Carslake, and by all reports and by speaking to people that were there, I was speaking to ex-Norwood player and Jason Miller, who went there, and he said Norwood had their opportunities, but Eagles played a bit of they started to turn it on when they had to, and when Norwood started to run away, they came back. So Eagles, again, that cements their spot in the final 4, and again, can they go on with it?
Norwood kicked 4 goals, 8 in the opening term, so that's what he meant by having the chances. 4 goals, 8 to just 2 points in the opening term, but then the Eagles responded by kicking 7 goals, 2 in the second term to just a goal from Norwood. So that's when they took over. But look at this little play. Young youngster.
We talk about second efforts in football, and it's just amazing. This is just a young youngster, hands the ball over to his one of his leaders in Sikaleta, and again, Justin Sikaleta, he's going to be one of the hot favourites of the Magarey medal, especially come this time at the end of the season when we start to talk about players and where they're going to finish, and Magarey medal favouritism must be leaning with him at the moment.
Yeah, Sikaleta playing a big part in that victory last night. As you see, another great gather by Sikaleta, and then off to Sam Philippou, who becomes more and more important for the Eagles as they search for what's needed to beat one of their top 4 compatriots.
Well, it does, and we kicked 6 goals last week against Glenelg, Philippou, and then we got Passador. Now, Passador, he kicked Mark Passador, he kicked 5 last night against quality opponents. So again, it's Nord, unfortunately, maybe missed out this year again, so there might be a bit of heat on Gary McIntosh and Ron Fuller.
That's saying something to say there's heat on Gary McIntosh.
Well, it would have to be. He's a favourite son, but that's, they really haven't produced the goods, and that's what they hide him for. And speaking to Jason Miller, he's always said that Gary McIntosh prides himself on success, and he knows he's got some experience and some young players coming in, so it'll be very interesting to see.
We're going down now to have a listen to the Port Huddle and Stephen Williams.
First couple again, boys. Ready. Good work at that. Okay, terrific. Good work. put a lot of pressure on all the time. Like, a nice little work down back. We're looking to switch the ball, which is good, and we're getting it in quickly to our forwards. As with last week against Sturt, get it in there quickly. They just look too good for their immediate opponents. Okay, Evo, Binks, and Plappy have just been terrific, and then Ricky's chasing and tackling has been fantastic. Harry as well. Jules around the midfield has been good. We put a lot of pressure on, but they're a quality side. Okay, so they're going to come back and they're going to have a crack. So we just got to make sure that we can stand up to it. Okay, it means winning the ball around the stoppages all the time. Keep working about that cat. Okay, we've got Paz. Ackers will leave you on to start with. Come on, okay. So we just want to control that ball in the area there. And like I said, it's nothing flash. It's just a quick kick forward. Let's make sure we're in front, wherever it is. If they get a quick kick into the forward lines, our backmen are going to be in front all the time. All right? Keep chasing from behind. They don't want to kick to a contest, okay? They just want to hold it and kick it to somebody so they can play uncontested footy all day. So let's be smart, and when we win the ball, let's look to use it well. We've been smart. You know, they've been having blokes sitting back, so everybody's been presenting. We've been giving them the ball. That's what we're looking for. But don't think, oh, well, geez, look at the scoreboard. We're doing okay. We're playing the top side of the competition, okay? So let's just keep working nice and hard. Don't give us anything. They get a goal, we get two back. Forget about the scoreboard like TV. Start again now.
Grind them in the ground.
You know the conditions out here. You know what you can do, what you can't do. The immediate thing is they put a lot of pressure on them. When they get the ball, let's get after them. They can't get around us. Tackle them hard. Put them under pressure. They've got no real speed in their side. Okay, so we got some blokes with a bit of toe. Let's put them under pressure all the time. As I said, chase them from behind. The kickouts working well. Just keep nice and control with what we do, okay? Play to Ross, who's ever kicking the ball out. Ross knows that he's standing on the Gowans. They're both coming up into the play a little bit, so as soon as they get the ball, one comes down, Ross picks one up, Ebo or whoever it is gets the other one. So just make sure that we're handing them over.
Well, as expected, it hasn't been pretty football, a tough slog. Port Adelaide starting beautifully and a very pumped up huddle, as you would expect. Stephen Williams, his two messages there really, keep the pressure on Central Districts, keep knocking the ball forward. Interesting to see Ricky O'Loughlin getting a lot of attention on his calves by the physiotherapist, so hopefully for Port's sake he continue on with his good form now.
Yeah, it'd be very important to keep Ricky O'Loughlin on the ground, of course. And whilst you mentioned Gary McIntosh, look, there's a lot of pressure, I would imagine, on Port Adelaide as well, and their coach, Stephen Williams.
Well, that's what happens when you're so successful, the tradition, success, and you have pressure. And Justin Plattwell, he's been an amazing player in the first quarter, but now it's up to him and also the Port Adelaide football team is to keep the momentum up, because like Steve Williams said, Central Districts will certainly come back as they're a quality team.
Just a quick look at our tipping for the week. This week's winner, Brian, will win tickets to the 2003 Grand Final as usual. And Brian Flowers leads the way at the top of the table. And we're just about set for a start in the second quarter here. 32 points to margin. Here's Michael Maney.
Thanks, Neil. No rain so far in the match. Port Adelaide out of the blocks by 32 points. Will that be a match-winning break by the Magpies? Centrals, the top dogs, up against the side that may just miss out on the finals. The Maggies kick forward. Sainsbury, busy first turn for him. Slung off on the kick. Desperation. Clayton in hard, big pack. Umpire will call for a throw-up, so he won't bounce it today. There's another one. Another Magpie infiltrating Elizabeth Oval. All done by Clayton, just knocked it out of the congestion. Ashley, these conditions suiting him. Bello, toe poke. James Gowans, a little bit too quick for both he and Chris Gowans. Boundary throwing.
One thing about we can see Central District, because Port Adelaide's putting so much pressure on the Central District players, they're starting to fumble here, where Port Adelaide on the other hand are just being clean, especially in close.
Ackland on the ground for the Magpies. Knocked it down to Ashley. Can't keep his feet. Recovered well. Torpedo punt. Tyson Hay just does a big slide and just protects himself from the fence.
That was well done by Tyson Hay. Just slid in the ball, pushed the ball to the forward line. Knew he couldn't mark it, but if he let it go behind, Port Adelaide was offered it. So clever play.
Thump forward by Arnold. Umpire just about got in the way. Brown got it to Ebert, who just jammed it on the non-preferred right boot. Evans couldn't trap it. At the back, Krieg, the long sleeves. Kicks to wide open spaces. Mown down by Kingsley, took a dive. Ball played by Funk. Handball missed the target. Lyle just kicked it down the line. Kicked off the ground by Chris Gowans. Matthew Slade there with Bamford. Slade, can he keep it in? Takes it over.
It was very interesting to hear Stephen Williams' comment saying that Central Districts don't have much leg speed. Now, I don't know if he called Matthew Slade slow. It was very interesting. We might talk about that later on, I think.
Ball back into play, and again we look like the ball will not come out and we'll get another bounce. Stephen Williams, pensive, you would say. Plenty to think about. Matthew Knight's closer to camera. He's come in this season as the football operations manager at Port. Ball down again. Richmond connection if you take into account Funk and Platt on the field, and then Matthew Knights as well off the ground. Here's Graham inside 50. His kick looked to pick out Archie. He didn't, of course, look to pick out Archie, but that was the effect. Archie taking off. In the box you've got Slade, who looks like he may have hurt a shoulder. Hereda couldn't get a punch on the ball. At the back shell, his little toe poke torpedo gets over the boundary line just. 32 points the margin. Early days, second term. Going to have a look at how or why Matthew Slade is in distress. Ooh, Julian Waite, the hard body. And I'd say from the strapping, Slade does have a problem with that shoulder in any case.
Be very interesting, and I can't see much rain up here where we're sitting, but down near Mark Stoddart, I think Mark Stoddart was one of the only people with an umbrella up at Elizabeth Oval at the moment.
Julian, I think if you look hard enough, you'll see there are plenty of umbrellas around, and there is a little bit of rain at the moment. Just on Matthew Slade, he does look like he's in a bit of trouble. He is coming from the ground. Bad news for Central because Heath Hopwood still hasn't surfaced from that knock that he did get early in the first quarter.
Very early, in fact. Was it, Michael? 14 seconds, I think you said, into the game.
Yep.
Now Arnott's coming on the ground, and Slade may well not have a shoulder problem because it looks like he was feeling his collarbone, which would be even worse if he's done something to his collarbone. So Central's in a deal of trouble. They trail by 32 points at the moment. Port Adelaide in control. The finals are not too far away. And Central's have a couple of injury worries. Here's Funk. He's still at half back. O'Loughlin runs for him, having given it to Funk, gets the 1-2 kick. Still not up the centre wing. Looks infield. Pinpoint kick to Kingsley. James Gowans as if to pick it up and say, what? Sorry, did you drop it? Out of the far side of the ground, so they switch play. I don't know if that was the best way to go, but it may turn out that way. Here's Clayton in a deal of trouble, just hit and hope forward. Arnott cleans it up at the back, goes wide. Umpire said that wasn't 15 metres, I think, and as a result, they're still under pressure, Centrals. Arnold, big long head pass, looking for Healy. Around the corner goes the kick, not the greatest of kicks. Feagit couldn't take it though. Oh, this is sloppy. But what do you expect? The conditions are very difficult, we must say that.
It's a very sloppy game, and as we can see, bang, straight there, Julian Waite hitting hard. So players are hitting hard. That was Matthew Slade from a different angle. But again, both teams here, is just going to be a slog out all day, Neil Cross. But Central Districts, they're going to get back in the game. I think they've got to really start concentrating there, getting their hands right, because that's where they beat the majority of their opponents, with their ability to keep control of the game.
Starting to cloud over and get a bit dark.
Now, is this an indication of the injuries that they've had, perhaps, that maybe they're not as serious about this game as Port Adelaide?
Yeah, maybe so. I think you're right there, Neil. It'd be interesting. Port Adelaide are really playing for pride because they really can't make the finals, where Central Districts could be protecting themselves for future weeks ahead.
Look, the other thing too is that they would have loved to reintroduce Simon Arnott and give him a lot of bench time, but just about have to be forced to run him out on the ground as the rain starts to pelt down at Elizabeth Oval. Tony Brown got the handball away, under pressure from Healy. Waite, chopped off by Bello. It really starts teeming down now. Gowans in hard, that was Chris. Back to Coulter, just about his first touch. Kick forward. Bamford fell. Swatala all over him like a rash. Will Bamford get penalised? No, he won't.
Well, it'd be tough if he got penalised, but Tony Bamford kept his feet again. He didn't let the ball slip out like Chris Gowans did in the first, but as you can see on screen, it's heavy rain at the Ponderosa today. I used to love these conditions. I used to love it.
He averaged about 4 possessions in most wet weather games, so I've been told.
And dry.
I think you're very generous there, Michael. 4 possessions, 1 1/4. You've got to be kidding now.
Well, I wanted 1 1/4. That's okay.
Not only has the rain come, but there is actually some breeze now. It was very still in the first quarter, but the breeze now favouring the left of screen.
How important that first term was for Port Adelaide to open up a 32-point break. It's hard now for the Bulldogs. It's inside their 50. The crowd calls ball.
And I think you said that, Michael, down there. Look at the smile on your face, Mark. You're enjoying it down there, aren't you?
Just, I'm absolutely freezing at the moment, mate. Please, do you want to come down and swap the bat?
Centrals go forward. Krieg. Here's just James Gowans. Just kicks it across the body, looking for Graham. Difficult for the big man. In goes Krieg again. Handball over the top. Maybe a chance here for Centrals. Booted off the ground by Funk. Running onto it, McDowell. We'll see plenty of this afternoon. Kicking off the ground. Thomas. Miller held onto him for a fair while. He tries to go through again. Bello to Healy. Brooks bustled out of it. Bamford for the Maggies. Quick kick by Gowan. Sainsbury. Brooks laying on the footy. Like a game umpire Williams crosses the arms.
And what this comes, and look at this Harry Miller magnificent tackle. Maybe Paul Thomas, second effort was good, but what this comes down is a bit of a psychological game, you know. What team wants it the most? You know, it's a bit of a mental game, Neil Cross. You nodded your head but didn't say anything.
I'll get to something in a minute. It's a little bit hard because not only is it difficult to see the players, and it's becoming more difficult. Now, Michael, you said it was belting down, and then you said it was teaming down. What comes after that? Because it's got heavier.
Bucketing.
It is a shocker.
And the Central District supporters behind the Southern end are still standing there with no umbrellas.
They are brave. Bello. Chance. No. Dispossessed. Well done by Waite. Just got a hand in there and took the ball away from Bello.
Boys, can you send down a snorkel and a mask, please?
Hang on, I'm just having my first hot dog, Mark. Just stay there.
You would be concerned, Peter Williams. In fact, the umpires may well choose to throw the ball up so many times just to keep warm, because it's cold besides everything else. The ball just not going anywhere. That's well done by Krieg. Gets it out to Healy. He's good off the left foot. He's good off the right foot as well. That one up in front of goals. Astray slightly. Sainsbury got rid of his man, but the ball then tumbled. And I don't know how it managed to do that because it's so wet. You would have thought it'd slide over the boundary line.
Neil, Matthew Slade is down in the rooms at the moment. Central Districts have more players in the rooms than they have on the bench.
Matthew Slade's just coming past you now, Mark.
He is. I just had to duck under my umbrella and have a look. He has just come out of the rooms and he has damaged his sternoclavicular joint.
So, and that the common word is what? Collarbone?
It would be just where your collarbone meets your sternum, Julian, hence the term sternoclavicular.
Well, hence that a lot of people probably listening at home, not being disrespectful, just understand collarbone.
All right, boys, enough fighting. Centrals go forward again and again, as you'd expect. The kick's not exactly perfect. There's Matthew Slade taking his position on the bench. Doesn't look like he's really prepared to come back on at this stage. Steinburner gets in front of O'Loughlin, who manhandles him out of the way. Now the left leg. Infield, good vision. Clayton in space. Clayton looks up forward. The player in Platt leads away from the goals, then doubles back and takes a mark 20 metres out. Play on, should be a goal. Port Adelaide, effective going forward. Well done.
That's magnificent play, and we talked about it before. That's his third goal. But clean hands, clean skills, and that's what Port Adelaide are booting Central District at the moment. Ricky O'Loughlin, clever vision. Mark Clayton pushed down from half-back, had a look, held the ball, didn't panic, waited for Justin Platt to make a move, kicked it on his right side.
How good was the kick from O'Loughlin?
Oh, it was magnificent. And Ricky O'Loughlin, really his battle with Nathan Sternbrenner has been a game of really who's who today. It's just basically get the ball. There's no really free-flowing football, it's just one-on-one.
Steinburner 1 kick, O'Loughlin 8.
38 points the difference. Good me game enough to say it's a match-winning lead. Kingsley.
You could, Michael, because last night's deficit of 30 points that the Eagles came back from was the biggest deficit that's been overcome, biggest quarter-time deficit that's been overcome this season. So Central's had 32 points down at quarter-time, so pretty unlikely to win from there.
Thought I was on the money, Moggy. Thanks for that. Up forward. The handball out. O'Loughlin again. Just back pedals. Possession number 9 to Miller.
And again, an effective kick in these conditions. Sensational.
Just knows how to play the game. O'Loughlin. Short kick by Miller, spots up Waite. About 3 kicks out from goal, you'd say. Just outside, he's attacking 50. Scrubby old kick. You can expect that. Brown might just kick it off the ground here. Wobbly ball. Just got a small purchase on it, and off to Hyde, took it over.
Well, again, Port Adelaide peppering the goals even in the wet weather. Great desperation by Marco Bello.
So a short kick out in from defence. Remembering, of course, Central's only 1 behind on the board so far. Last week they had 2 at quarter time. It took them till the 8-minute mark of the second term before they kicked their first goal. This week they haven't kicked a goal. We're now 12 minutes into the second term. Steinbrenner rushes in, or Kellett it is in fact, rushes in. The umpire calls for another bounce, or a throw-up in fact it will be. He put the ball in the air.
The desperation of the Port Magpies players have been exceptional at the moment. Just their attack on the ball and the body in these conditions, that's what they've been so successful over many years. And again, as Mock could be a bit late this year because they could be one of the form teams that go into the finals. Unfortunately, they won't be there.
No, it seems not. Just mathematically, Moggy, it's still possible, isn't it? You can give me the exact stats on what they have to do.
It would need Sturt to lose both of their games by 12 goals as well as Port winning both of theirs by about that margin.
Well, who knows? Maybe a 12-goal possible win this afternoon for Port Adelaide, and I'm sorry to say that for Bulldogs fans, but they've certainly started very well, the Magpies. Here's Funk, sweeping at half-back. Bamford was in trouble, went to the boundary line. Umpire said, what, throw it in. Centre wing on the outside, outer side of the ground. Not surprisingly, a bit of mud in the eye there. The past players from Central District is that tent behind that you can see.
And I'm pretty sure they'll be thinking, gee, I'm glad I'm not playing football anymore.
Umpire calls advantage to Ebert. I don't know that that was really fair to Central District. Ebert goes deep inside the forward line. Shell did well to get it away from Binky. Follows up, and good skills from Daniel Shell made that look like he didn't mean to go over that boundary line. I'm damn sure he did.
Certainly he headed for the boundary line. And as we saw, there's Counting, Ackland coming on. Might be a double change, Mark Soderstrom.
Certainly is. Both Ruckman, Arnold and Ackland coming off, being replaced by Parry and Paul Sculler.
Do you reckon they looked at each other and said, we'll both go off and have a rest?
Silence was the answer. The mark by Platt. Thought he played on. He's told to do so now. He's given about 15 metres. Looks for O'Loughlin, can't take the mark, on hands and knees, clever knock to Brown. Brown got to Binky, Binky screws it round the corner. I think that's a good kick from Binky.
So they're on fire, the Maggies today, they are on fire. Central District's his second goal, Brian Binky. As you see, Steve Williams, I think externally he's not smiling, but internally I think he'll be very pleased with his charges at the moment. And again, Justin Plapp, every goal, I think he's been some sort of played a role in that. But desperation, good hands, composure, and just skillful, just snapped it around. And Ricky O'Loughlin again, just showing his desperation. And that's a beautiful snap. Wet weather footy, it's not easy to kick goal. And Brian Binky happy with himself. The Port Magpies are certainly pushing forward ahead in these conditions. It's a magnificent effort.
45 points, what a margin to come back from at the moment. It gets worse for Centrals as Brown goes forward again. McDowell takes the mark. He kicked 5 last week. Has hardly touched the ball today, but he did that time and very effectively gets it up towards Binky. Takes another chest mark. And but for Adam Kingsley's goal, Port Adelaide's entire score has been kicked by their 3 key forwards in Platt, Binky and Evans. So they have been, despite the conditions, very, very effective inside the forward 50. Binky that time not so effective away to the right.
But again, in these conditions, Neil, what amazes me is it's the fluency that Port Magpies are bringing the ball into their forward line.
The skill level is terrific.
You know, and I think that's what's really impressed probably. And I would even say the Central District fans will be saying, well, Port Adelaide are playing a good brand of football in atrocious conditions.
Also reflecting the fact they've taken 37 marks to Central's 9.
Good reflection that. Gowans tries to get through at the back, Schooler. Loping handball to Hereda, who hasn't had too much of it. Swatala. The forward burst, kick off the instep. Quentin Graham just can't do anything but take it to the line.
And that's why one player I did mention earlier in the pre-match about Quentin Graham, he's got to really present himself and take control of the game in these conditions. And Nigel Fegut's really had a good game against Stephen White last week, and Nigel Fegut's clamped down on his opponent, and Quentin Graham, who's an influential player.
Boundary throw in. All done by Parry. Healy. Got it across to Arnott. Arnott boots it inside 50. Wobbly old ball, well read by Archie, who really is one of the elite defenders in this competition. Got a man loose in Waite. Waite thought about the handball, ducked inboard. What's he got ahead? Goes in short. Too much for Clayton. Healy just jammed it on the boot. High kick, ill-directed, and marked by Tony Brown, who really is having a very, very good game. As you would expect, 5'0" in these conditions. Steinburner in the back against O'Loughlin. 4
marks and 12 possessions for Tony Brown.
He's been very good.
Without being disrespectful, he hasn't worked hard for his possession. Central District's players have just been kicking the ball to him all day.
One-on-one contest. Well done, Steinburner to James Gowans. Foxed it out the back to Bello, who's looking to give it off. Decides to go with a non-preferred. Bouncing ball. Will get stuck in the mud. Fegan. What's he got ahead of him? A man in short in Archie. Further down the line, Funk has made some space on the wing. Decides to go by hand to Ebert. Ebert goes long. Looking for Funk. Arnott just got in the way. Healy, quick hands, got it to Gowans. Back to Arnott. Sold Harada into all sorts of trouble. Healy is really trying desperately to lift his side, the skipper. In goes Arnott. Used the footy to Hay. Harada. They're going nowhere, the Dogs. Harada locked up.
And I applaud the Port players there. Just they were at him and at him. And that's where they're beating Central Districts. And Central District, that's the way they defeat their opponents, by the tenacity around the ball. And Port Adelaide of just repeatedly getting to them very quickly, very smoothly, and laying correct tackles at the right time.
James Gowans, another fresh air shot, parry off the ground, well taken by Hay, then thumps a big torpedo forward. Port Adelaide have the numbers though. Brooks will come across but won't get there in time before Archie's able to clear the ball, and that was a pretty ordinary kick. Krieg gives the don't argue to Ashley, now tries to draw Ashley and does so. Healy, long and strong off the left foot, tumble punt forward, just hoping for the best, and the best was a great result for Sainsbury. Just landed in his lap.
And that was good play, clean football.
46 points, the margin.
Good play by young Krieg. Knew how to take the mark, couldn't go over the back. Draw Matty Ashley.
Would you believe Centrals have been inside 50 one more time than Port?
Just a fluency we talked about. Sainsbury taking front position. Important kick this.
At the 19-minute mark of the second term, he kicks a goal for Central District. It has taken that long. Well done to that young man, Sainsbury. The 19-minute mark of the second term, Centrals moved to 1 goal, 1-7, playing Port Adelaide's commanding total of 7-5, 47.
Well, at least that goal gives them some confidence. Again, it's going to be a psychological battle now. Can they pick themselves up? And Daniel Healy just coming off, and we'll check down to Mark Soderstrom if we've got any news with Daniel Healy.
Yeah, Julian, he looks like he might have damaged his right hamstring, just as the physio having a look at it now. So that actually means that Central District's no fit players on the bench at all now.
Brown's kick chopped off at half-back by Hay, who's had plenty to do. Just switches play to the outer side. Arnott just kicks it long. Good crumb by Brooks. Good tackle by Clayton. Another bounce.
I dare say Central could not afford to lose Daniel Healy, the busiest player on the ground at this stage, with 11 kicks and 5 handballs.
So coming up at three-quarter time, just a look at that melee from last week and what the SANFL has done to protect those lads who are sitting there on the fence waiting for their mini-league game.
Yes, couple of young fellas there. A little bit toey. Plenty of toey Centrals and Norwood players. Brown uses Ashley. Kicked around the body. Kingsley, ball booted off the ground again. Centrals go forward. Chris Gowans, an old blind turn, jammed it on the boot. Krieg takes a nice mark in front of Ebert. Now they could get another goal here. Good kick, spots up Sainsbury. He kicked the first. He'll go long to the square. Bello couldn't take the mark. Roved his own ball. Will kick a goal. The goal set up by Sainsbury, kicked the first, and Bello doing what any good rover can do, even roving his own ball and kicked the goal.
Well, Steve Williams did say at quarter time that Central Districts are a quality team and they will come back, and they are doing this. Sainsbury's been effective, and Marco Bello, great effort just to keep his feet, didn't fall over to rove his own ball. So it's going to be interesting just coming to half time. Central Districts, they're still a long, long way. If they just peg back a few more, then come three-quarter time, they get back a little bit closer, they might be in for a chance, but it'll be very interesting to see.
Here's Kingsley in the middle, stands, gets away, another centre break, up towards McDowell. I don't even think the umpire knew that McDowell had that. I think McDowell knew it in the end. Brought it to ground, the umpire will call for a throw-up.
I'd like to have a look at that again. That was a magnificent mark, I thought.
No,
maybe not.
The eyes deceive, perhaps.
Oh, I would have paid it anyway.
Schooler just got it down. Now, plenty of players hovering over the ball, almost conceding that was going to be another job for the umpire to separate things. Now, his weight taken immediately. Coulter clears from the back. Now Ashley just picks up the crumbs from that little battle. Out wide looking for O'Loughlin. The boundary line might beat him, it does. Just looks back in hope that might have been a better kick.
And Moggy, what's Matty Ashley's stats today?
Yes, he's had a field day, 8 kicks and 7 handballs.
He's been very effective. He's been cleaning up as a bit of a sweeper, very similar to Tony Brown. Stephen Williams on the front, I don't think he would have much to say.
Parry, just a kick, hit and hope, down towards half forward, off the hide, just escorts the ball over the line yet again. A few furrowed brows in there, but you wouldn't have expected it given the result, or given the score at the moment at least, although, again, Central's has kicked 2 in a row. Schooler gets his man away from the ball, and then Kingsley comes in and shows him how to pick it up. Around the corner and up inside that danger zone, 20 metres from goal. Port Adelaide has been effective inside 50, no doubt about that. Evans getting a little perturbed.
Bit of frustration showed by the Central District players.
There's an empty bench.
That's the bench, and we couldn't see one player. Mark Soderson might have to put to wear the Central District colours soon.
Well, it'll be one of the few clubs, Juice, that I didn't embarrass myself at.
Or haven't played for.
One man who doesn't embarrass this, Sodas. Oh, looking good, Sodas.
You're looking great.
That nose job's really starting to work for you.
That extra gel you put in the car coming down is sitting well too.
That's it, boys. Just commentate on the game, what you paid for.
Ball booted out of half-back by the Doggies. Long kick by Thomas. Good body work. In goes Clayton. Graham's got him locked up. There's Matty Ashley with a football. Very productive, 15 possessions, and has been terrific in the first half.
Interesting seeing Matthew Clayton wear a glove today. I don't think a glove would help at all in these conditions.
No, probably not. Perhaps if they wear them every week. There's Ashley just left a screen there.
I tell you what.
Another heap of mud on there, and the umpire even seen the funny side of that. Well done, Parry. Got it down. No clear breakaway from any side. Taken by Steinburner. Kick forward, good body work by Krieg. He'll run inside 50 here, Matthew Krieg. Open goal square, so he decides to kick it there. Chi just got a boot on it. Bello, clean bowled him. In goes Krieg again, ducked the head. No free kick, in goes Funk. And the umpire's under plenty of pressure today. Do they let it go? Do they ball it up?
I think you'll find that young Krieg ducked his head if we can't see it. And well played by Russ Funky. Just grabbed him around the waist and just ceased play.
Good work. Ball spills out. Centrals would love another goal before half-time. Free kick. It'll go to Gowans, Chris Gowans, and this might be the goal they would need.
Just a bit of inexperience. And Gowans just throws his hand to the right, just didn't pick it up, and then just got the free kick. Just this experience.
Young Sinkunis for his first run.
Also
Until the new players. Yes, Moggy?
Sorry, Michael. Also coming out to his 15th possession is Chris Gowans. This will be his 11th kick with 4 handballs.
Worked pretty hard, Chris Gowans. He's got 33, as does his brother, for the year. He'll take a good kick from there and just makes it in these conditions. Who would have thought 35 metres out from goal would make the difference? It's half-time. Good goal by Chris Gowans late in the quarter there, Julian. Sees Port Adelaide 7-5-47, Central's 3-1-19, and a little bit of hope for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think so. And that goal there, that was his 139th goal in the SNFL. So, again, Central Districts are coming back a little bit, but I still think, they're still deficit, just under 30 points, and that's a long time. Wet weather footy, really, that's nearly 60 points. And I think Port Adelaide at the moment are playing playing good football, tough football, but now it's up to the coaches to really sit down, analyse what happened in the first half, then come down. It'll be very interesting. We saw some mini-league players also coming out. It'll be very interesting to see the news that Neil Cross has to talk about after the break about the mini-league and the news what the SANFL has been doing.
Well, it's half-time here at Elizabeth Oval, and it is the Bulldogs trailing. They are 3-1-19, trailing Port Adelaide 7-5-47. Julian, take us through the goal kickers.
And Port Adelaide's goal kickers, where we've got Plapp, who's got 3, Binky 2, Evans and Kingsley 1 apiece, and for Central Districts, 3 sole goal kickers, and Bello, Gowans and Sainsbury.
Yeah, it's been interesting. The last 3 goals of that first half coming from Central District, so they're slightly back in the game. As we look at those stats overall, what do you make of them? I guess 24 hit-outs to 13. Parry's obviously dominating that.
Well, the interesting one that looks down as the bottom on the screen is Central District's 19 inside 50s to Port Adelaide 17. So it's really Central Districts that have gone into their forward 50 as much as Port Adelaide, but Port Adelaide have been more systematic, I say.
They have been systematic. Brian Binky has got on the end of a couple of times. Justin Plapp, this man here, has been very effective as well. And their other big forward in Paul Evans hasn't done a lot, but again, they've all managed to be effective in front of goals.
Oh, they have. And Brian Binky, great goal awareness, just turned around and snapped around. They're difficult shots to have, but he's a quality player. And to have him back, and he played last week, his first game, but players of those calibre of Binky, Evans, Platt, then you got McDowell, then you can throw Brown in there. Port Adelaide's got some firepower up forward.
They have indeed. Now, much to the disappointment of Sodas, it seems like the weather's clearing a bit, mate, and we might even get some blue sky I can see in the distance.
It certainly is, Neil. I'm very happy to report that there is a bit of blue sky coming, so maybe the last half will be a little clearer than that first half. Now, bad news for Central Districts. They have 3 injuries, players who won't return to the field, so their bench is empty at the moment. We did actually see their doctor sitting on the bench during that second quarter. Daniel Healy, the skipper, has a hamstring, and Heath Hopwood was injured with a knock to the head, so he has concussion. That was in the opening stages of the game. And Matthew Slade has damaged his shoulder, just at the joint there for Julian Burton's sake of his collarbone and his sternum there. So none of those players will return to the fold today.
Yeah, it's just having a look there. It's very unfortunate. You get your arm down over the ball and somebody collects you. You can certainly pop a shoulder if you're unlucky. You can pop your AC joint if you're unlucky.
Well, hey, but the thing that's really unlucky with Central Districts, I believe, is probably the timing of those injuries. With finals only 2 weeks ago, especially with Healy and Slade, and maybe we don't know what will happen to Heath Hopwood.
Well, the Magpies have been flying in the first half. We're ready for the second half, and here's Michael Maney.
Thanks, Neil. Can the Bulldogs continue on in the second half? 19 plays 47. Round 21 of SANFL football on ABC television. In the centre, out of there, kick away. Port go forward. O'Loughlin and Steinburner wrestle. Ashley. Hereda. Fumbled for a second, knocked it out. Got a call from Steinburner. He couldn't get it. Miller. Steinburner wants the line. Miller wants to keep it back in. Pretty tight. James Gowans can't get through. The umpires have let it go pretty well today. And the umpire comes in and will throw the ball up as they have done all day. The ground conditions here very, very soft.
And Michael, it'll be very interesting to see how teams come out after half-time break. It's cold, it's wet, not so windy, but again, it's, like I said, a bit of a mental battle now for both teams.
And a bit of a struggle for most of the day, coming to terms with these conditions. Ball kick forward. Chris Gowans couldn't take clean possession. Umpire's got no alternative but to come in and call for the football. There's Brett Ebert, the Magpies player who was on the verge of Port Adelaide power selection a couple of times this year. Ackland, who's missed a lot of the season through injury. Ebert to Ashley, who was very productive in the first half. His kick has just floated out off hands and will be thrown back in.
Very interesting, Elizabeth Oval. As you can see, it's very muddy in that, but inside in the centre square, we might cross down to Mark Stosham, we'll have about this. Does it have a cricket pitch? And lucky today, this oval doesn't have a cricket pitch because in the middle it gets thick and boggy. So again, Central District's really holding the water well, I think.
Ball inside 50 again. Another opportunity for Port Adelaide, but Central's, well, eventually Coulter will clear it, or will he not? No, he does. Just Bello switches play. That's dangerous. They do it pretty well, though, given the conditions. Prepared to take risks, and I guess they have to, Centrals, because they are trailing at half-time by 28 points. Here's Hereda. by Peter Williams, who's coming in and setting the mark. Pareto taking his time. On this side of the ground, he's got Steinburner and Shell, but he decides to go down the line. Finds Swatala.
Lovely pass, that.
Swatala missed the 2 premierships in 2000, 2001. Was with Essendon in the AFL. Now he's back and played in the losing grand final last year. Here's Brown crunched in the back. Arnott got him. Tony Brown will pick himself up. He's carrying a foot injury on top of having an interrupted season caused by a broken leg late last year. Hay, well, he was just sat on there by O'Loughlin, who was just waiting and waiting.
And also Adam Kingsley's changed his jumper after half-time. He's wearing number 46 now. So the viewers at home, Adam Kingsley, gone from number 40 to number 46.
Just to add to our woes as commentators, it's wet, it's muddy. Can't see the players often that well. Now they change jumpers. Here's Ebert, high, into the forward 50. Lyle comes with, or rather Binky with the float, with the force of the ball, but in the end it's cleared from the back and the race is on. Out towards half-back. Ashley's coming, but he won't get there. Off the ground, Swatala looking for centre wing and the boundary line. It just gets bogged in there. Sainsbury picked it up, then lost it immediately. Lyle off the ground. Thomas overran it. And Miller, who was pursuing Thomas with the thought of tackling him, accidentally kicks the ball over the boundary line. Will get a throw in just in front of the Central's bench, which of course has no fit players on it.
Yes, plenty of vacancies on that bench. No one to take up the positions. In goes Ackland. Just got rid of it. Did he get rid of it fair? Umpire said yes. Neil Cross says no. Ball amazingly kept inside. Hereda took it out. O'Loughlin just clinging on.
Just hanging on. It's a merry-go-round. Now, Mark Soderstrom, talk us about the ovals at Glenelg, North Adelaide, and also start with the cricket pitch.
Well, you're right, Julian. With district cricket onto those grounds, we do find that in winter, with a little bit of rain, they do become boggy and that very thick tar mud. But Central District, I reckon the centre of the oval is probably the best part of the whole ground at the moment.
So
Must
agree with you much.
Yeah. And while we see that, we see Matty actually just slide nearly down the runway.
Didn't change his Guernsey.
No. As we can see in the middle of the oval, it's very clean and not really waterlogged at all. As we can see right on screen now, it's just a big mud pile.
Don't want any more rain, that's for sure. Probably won't matter all that much in the end. Big scrum of players. Look at the rugby coming to Adelaide fairly shortly.
October, yep, the World Cup.
The World Cup. Chris Gowan's got it down. Bello, Arnold, just out of congestion. Well done by Krieg. Kicks it off the ground. Fee gets there. That was a good mark.
Good touch,
spinning ball.
Good touch in a wet game. Just controlled the ball, as he's done from foremost out of his career. Just controlled the defensive position for the Magpies.
And his kick went more than 15 metres, but the one that he marked didn't, I'm sure. Steinburner kicks it out on the full. Good you can actually see that line too because of the mud.
True, but it's good pressure, Neil, just by Ricky O'Loughlin, just creating Swatala to kick the ball out on the full, and again Port Adelaide to have control of the game again.
Gone backwards to go forwards. Here's Bamford. He goes short. Swatala will intercept it. His own man in Hay sort of spoiled him. In the end, Hay hooks the ball forward. James Gowans thinks about giving it to his brother and realised, no, that wasn't the best option. Brooks slips over. Brooks comes again. Good tackle by Brooks. Still, it's inside that forward 50. Clayton was the Port Adelaide player making the mistake there, losing his feet. Now he butters up again. Umpire will call for a throw-up, which we've seen a lot of this afternoon. Moggy, give us a stat on that.
Wish I could, Neil, but...
Moggy, that's not the first time you haven't given us a stat. That's the first time I reckon I've ever heard you not give us a stat.
Well, neither player in the ruck able to get that one out, and in the end Swatala intercepts the quick kick out of defence from Port Adelaide. So Centrals kicked the last 3 goals before half-time, and perhaps they've got a measure of control in this game that they certainly didn't for much of the first half. Ball inside the forward 50, just kicked out by Graham. Oh, how did that get through the pack? Oh, it got there anyway. Coulter just handballs the ball forward. They work it forward, and James Gowans just astray with a shot on goal. So Centrals, well, they're back in the match, there's no doubt about that. And 27 points, though, is a big deficit to come back from. And have a look at this. Through the traffic.
Straight through. As you can hear in the background, the Dog supporters, whether it's Ryan, Hale or Sean, they're still chanting that Dog chant.
Is that what it was?
Saying plenty. Lyle, chopped off by Bello. He's locked up by Ashley and also Kingsley.
And as you can see on screen, 2 to 1. You know, 2 black and white Guernseys to the red, blue and white. And again, that's been the story all day. You know, Port Adelaide's pressure, they're just intensity at the player and the body's been exemplary.
27 points the difference in favour of Port Adelaide. Archie just used Bamford. Want to go over the top to Brown. The handball not good. Brown good enough to get it back to Bamford. Short kick. Evans working a long way from the goals. On the wing, just kicks a high floating ball looking for O'Loughlin. Which way will it bounce? Out of bounds. Throw it back in. 27 points the difference in favour of the Maggies.
And marked down on the boundary line, there might be a ruck change.
Yeah, there is Kane Ackland, Craig Parry. I think Ackland will just stay on for a moment and contest this throw in, then he'll come straight off the change.
Hard slog for the ruckman today. Kane Ackland and Schooler, who's been tremendous for Centrals. Ball knocked to ground. O'Loughlin. Cree just wanted the line. Ebert tries to keep it in. Quick hands to Kingsley. Worked very close to the line. It trickles out.
There's that ruck change Mark Sotos was talking about. Kane Ackland only his second or third game back after suffering osteitis pubis, which is that inflammatory disease we talk about through the hip joints and creates a bit of fraction and a bit of friction through the hips and really can put a player out for many, many weeks or maybe a year. Actually, and it really ended one young player's career, in Anthony Sheen from Port Adelaide Magpies. Tremendous player, but chronic fatigue and injuries through the hip joints, through the osteitis pubis, and it really cost him his career, so it's sad.
Well, he had a couple of, at least one knee reconstruction as well, I think, Sheen, and in the end it got the better of him, unfortunately. Well, the ball, as you see, players going to ground. O'Loughlin smart, held his feet, couldn't hold the ball. Ashley in trouble. Ashley could be a candidate perhaps for the Olympics next year as a wrestler. You can see him in that mould, can't you?
He's a bit of a fiery customer, isn't he?
Just got that build, doesn't he?
Oh.
And Brian Hereda, perhaps. Maybe out of the weight category, taking on Hereda. So here's Ashley again. Thomas crawls all over him, and eventually the ball will be thrown back into play.
It's been quite interesting today. I thought the game might be a little bit more fiery and a few flurries might have started today with this weather, because both teams are very temperamental when they play football games. They have a history, a bit of aggression between each other. So all players have been play with themselves today in the aggression department.
Yeah, certainly that aggression perhaps dating back 95-96 when the Doggies made grand finals and just couldn't get over Port Adelaide. In fact, in that period, I think the Dogs perhaps only beat Port Adelaide once in 2 seasons, and they lost the big ones. The ball kicked quickly out of defence. That's a good take by Switala. Switala now as the Dogs break from the back. Looks towards Chris Gowans, covered by Kingsley. Still on the ground. Kingsley goes in, picks it up. Gowans has got a hold of him. Kingsley looks for the line. And saved by the fact the mud was there from actually a deliberate call being made. So wait on. Kingsley and Chris Gowans going at it. So just as we say, there are no tippers fraying.
Yeah, a bit of flurry there. It's funny, it's one of the Gowans boys. It's they love a bit of an argument in the football field.
Getting close to finals time too. You wouldn't want to do anything silly if you're a Bulldog.
Nah, true, that's right. And again, you know, it's good. Roy Laird will be seeing his players, you know, and it's a good hit out. Really, I know it's tough, hard conditions, but again, these conditions, especially for someone like Simon Arnott, who the game's not quick, who can really work into the game, having a few weeks off.
There he is. In fact, it's Calder. Off the left. Funk overran the football. Good enough to get it back. Tackled by Graham. Also Switala. Another good effort by Funk. Just caught on his backside there. Calder in hard on Ashley. Good tackle.
Well done by young Calder and also Graham. They haven't been really instrumental today like Port Adelaide's, you know, their players or their forwards. But again, this is their pressure, tackling and harassing the defensive players. It's good effort by Calder and Graham.
And we might get another bounce down here as Sainsbury just toes it along the boundary line. Waiting. Lyle, round the corner, and high. Good mark, taken there by Cree. Looks infield, Centrals has a runner there, but he just couldn't find him, and that's the win. What a crunch! And surely the players will find it hard to get up from that.
Now, tell you what, you watch that, they'll come in. That's courage personified there.
Wilson, was it? Yep. Sliding in there, and he is not a well boy. James Wilson will in fact come off the ground, I predict. He is not well behind play. Port Adelaide going forward. Evans over the ball, picks it up, then in trouble. Hand passed it into the centre of the corridor. Steinberner went to ground, got up again, and as you see, Wilson is struggling very much. He may have a heavy cork.
Courageous boy just wants to try and run it out. I don't think he can run some of those clashes out sometimes, but I think that might get the better of him after.
Central's pushed the ball wide. Coulter, if he can handle the ball, and eventually he does, he has runners. Sainsbury down towards half forward with the long kick. Fegert will want the line. That was where his punch was intended to go, and now he fumbles it over the line, and that gives us an opportunity to say, coming up at three-quarter time, we're going to have a look at the incident last week involving Central's and Norwood players, which spilled over the boundary line at half-time, and the Little League players you see there, or rather the mini league we have in South Australia, just got in the way of the big boys, and the SANFL has taken some action to ensure that that does not happen again.
Very interesting. That was the first time it happened in many years, though, isn't it? So you had the young mini leaders sitting along the boundary line. You always think they were safe and secure, and just one of something like that happens, and we have to change the rules.
13.5 minutes gone in the third term. Just the one behind so far in the quarter. Krieg, just a fresh air shot. Throw it back in. 47 plays 20, 27 points to lead to Port Adelaide. They need to get a wriggle on in this third term.
I agree with that, Michael. You still think 27 points against a quality team like Central's, is it enough?
No. That first term could have been the defining moment in the game.
I agree with that.
Slipping away.
And really, Port Adelaide can't take the foot off the pedal here. They've still got to keep progressing forward. And as you can see down to James Wilson, could be a knee. We might have to cross down to Mark Soderstrom to see if it's a cork thigh or a medial ligament or some damage there in the joint area.
Yeah, Julian, it certainly looks like he has damaged his left knee. The physio is just checking the integrity of it and seeing if there is any structural damage. So we'll try and get a report on that in a moment.
Look forward to your response, Mark.
Thanks, Doctor. In the centre, Brown collected the football well. Goes short. The target was McDowell. He kicks it off the ground. Inside the forward 50. Plapp overran. Off to Hyde as well. Oh, stray kick by Plapp. Good courage by Hereda. Picked up by Evans. A high floating ball into the pocket. Which way will it bounce? Shell couldn't hold on. Taken out of bounds. It'll be thrown back in. There's Daniel Shell.
He's had a reasonable battle with Binky. You kind of think Binky might have got on the better of him, but well done by there, Paul Evans. Just really a bit of composure. Would have liked a goal, but sprayed it to the right of screen.
I would have liked a free kick, I reckon, for the kicking in danger.
Brian Hereda just getting the cranium out of the way there. In goes Thomas Sinkunis, who missed a lot of football this year with that shoulder injury. I think against Norwood when they clashed at Albert and Oval early in the season. Around about round 8, I think, that Sinkunis was injured. Forced his way back into the side. Umpire have been throwing the ball up all day. Thumped away by Schooler. Well to Bello. Hay thought he laid it on the ground. Picked up by Kingsley. Kingsley has a pot shot and misses everything.
I suppose Kingsley, being a Port Adelaide AFL listed player, perhaps not used to these conditions maybe. They don't play often in these conditions at AFL level, but this is local football. SANFL football on the ABC, and the mud is pretty thick out there. Central's break from the back. They have had the better of the last 10 minutes before half-time, and then this quarter so far, the second half. Steinberner in trouble. Surely that's holding the ball. Umpire calls play on. Centre wing on the outer side of the Elizabeth Oval. Steinberner not happy with himself. And Julian Waite perhaps has good cause to get up and ask the umpire, why wasn't that a free kick?
Nathan Steinberner's got stuck in the mud today. Just 2 effective kicks. His opponent, Ricky O'Loughlin's had 14.
Been tagging O'Loughlin all afternoon, Steinberner. Here's O'Loughlin. Steinberner was caught making a tackle on the player who gave it to O'Loughlin. Now Sinkunis through the middle of the ground with the right foot. His kick found off to Hyde, who appeared to be actually leading for the ball, but in fact just leading his man to the ball.
That's the first time off to Hyde, I reckon, has got in front of Plapp. You know, if he did that earlier on, it might have been a different story.
Well, I don't know that he meant that, but he did find a man and a little bit of space in Thomas, who then finds the soap a little bit hard to pick up. Now he breaks away. Down centre wing, at the front, Clayton got the hand of the ball. Finally over the boundary.
Actually, their back six, Port Magpies today, and Funky, Fegert, Clayton, Archie, have been tremendous, haven't they? Kept the ball in front, played tight. When they could run off, they did. So again, Steve Williams been very impressive with his back six today.
Second half been going, as you see there, more than 17 minutes. James Gowan's point is the only score of the second half so far. It has been pretty tight. Centrals, in fact, have the last 4 scores of the game at the 19-minute mark of the second term. They kicked their first goal of the afternoon and then proceeded to kick 2 more in time on. Haven't been able to get anything other than a behind, as I said, in this half so far. And down towards half forward, Ashley goes to ground. The bulldozer that it is gets it towards the line.
Now, I want to ask you a question. In a day like a grubby day like this, how can umpires must find it difficult to pick a best player on the ground? You know, when it's not free-flowing, it's not spectacular, it's just really hard, dour football. Umpires must... And who would you say will give you 3-2-1? I'll come back to you after we've had a break.
Well, I won't go 3-2-1. I will tell you Port Adelaide did not get a Magarey medal vote against Central District in 2002.
2002?
All the votes went to Central District players.
Michael, what would your thoughts today with an umpire? If you're an umpire wearing white today, is there any specific player that stood out today?
Probably take about a half an hour to 3/4 an hour.
It would.
Meeting, I'd say, after the game. It's pretty tough in these conditions. Ebert kicked down the line, marked by McDowell, who kept the ball in. He was out. Free kick.
I thought it was very clever. It was a very clever play. Unfortunately for young Nathan McDowell, boy from Sejuna, didn't come off. Just and Tyson Hay let the umpire know too.
Very innocently too, just trotted away. Sainsbury, liked his game this afternoon. Sainsbury, and very lively. Ball thumped back. Coulter, we know he's got courage. Sinkunis locks him up. And that sliding confrontation between Coulter and James Wilson. There he is, Josh Coulter. Very much a live wire. Conditions not suiting him today, and many others as well. Kicked off the ground by Bello, inside 50. Port Adelaide defence led by Archie, stands up again. Kicked off the ground by Bello. No free kick. In goes Lyle, somehow slipped it to Fegert. Fegert's tackled to the ground. Umpire for ball up number 156.
It's been we might go down to Mark Soderstrom with Daniel Healy. Just might been changed, I think, Mark.
Yeah, Julian, he just walked past, I had a quick chat. I asked him if it was a hammy or just a nod of the head, not too happy at all. So hamstring normally be a couple of weeks, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
It'll take him a little bit underdone into the finals. But if they finish on top, maybe they'll get that week's break.
Yeah, definitely. And if they get that's right, if they win again. So there's Daniel Healy just chewing his nails. When we chew our nails, we're either disappointed or a little bit stressed, aren't we?
We've got nothing to do.
I don't know if I'd be chewing my nails having been out on that ground. There's no telling
what are you saying? What are you saying, Neil, about the Elizabeth Oval?
No, I'm not telling what you could pick up from the mud out there. Daniel Healy, who's just joined us, straining his hamstring, now sitting on the bench, having had a shower, I assume, and changed into his civvies. Archie clearing from the back for Port Adelaide over the boundary line at right half back. Central's trailing by 27 points. The margin was 28 at half-time, which you could deduce Central's has only kicked the one behind in this half.
What the umpires haven't done in this quarter is give free kicks. There's just been one free kick decision since half-time.
Ball back into play. Gowans, Chris Type, now Parry. Parry's been very good considering. Hasn't had a lot of the ball, but he's been good in ruck. They work the ball from the back. Have a look at this. They've got the runners, Port Adelaide. Lyle off half-back, goes for Platt. Takes the ball well in the hands. Looks around, considers, goes in long. On the lead, coming was Ackland. Doesn't get that far. Now off to Hyde. Shows a clean pair of heels and some good soccer skills to drop that ball inside the field of play and let it roll over at right half-back for Central District.
Well, a good play by Port Magpies, the way they brought the ball out of defence. There's a chain of handballs, got it moving. And off to Hyde. You know, this quarter's been very impressive.
Ackland, now you've got to get rid of it. The umpire said he did. I don't know about that. McDowell. They overrun the footy. Benke's there. Bello. It's good enough to get a handball out the back to Coulter, who looks for Chris Gowans. Heavy in there. Free kick. How many free kicks today, Moggy?
This makes it to 8 to Port, 10 to Centrals.
been pretty even. Only 18 for the day. The umpires have let it go pretty well. Ashley's got the free kick for the Maggies. Loads it up inside 50. Everyone flies. Who's over the back? O'Loughlin. Just a little toe poke and it dribbles and dribbles through from behind.
Okay, the ball just fall over the back then, and the central defender's got to bring the ball forward. Ever see Steve Williams, he's very impressed with today's game. His Chargers are in front by nearly up to 28 points. So again, they've got 1 quarter to go. Can they finish it off? That'll be the question.
28 points the margin now. The margin was 46 at the 15-minute mark of the second term. And so say again, it's a 1-all draw in the second half so far. Both clubs only able to score 1 behind in this quarter. Nigel Feagit, perhaps Graham's head just connecting with his elbow accidentally there. 28 points the margin, as we said. We're into time on. It won't be a long quarter with only those 2 points scored in this term. Barry goes at it again. Perhaps Arnold had the better of it. Ball fished out wide for Central District. Bello perhaps needs to do a little bit of work with the soccer skills. That was well and truly off the inside of the boot.
Isn't that a reflection of today's game, though, where Marco Bello went for the kick when he had some time and Adam Kingsley went for the hands? It's again just maybe a bit of confidence when with the football, and that's why Port Adelaide may be in front so comfortably this time in the game.
Batted forward. Lyle put his head over the ball, got taken away from it. Hand pass over the top to James Gowans. Rushed what he maybe shouldn't have rushed that kick. Now he goes in after it again. Graham got the kick forward. Gowans looked to have been buried there by a Port Adelaide player. The umpire still calling play on. Bamford got a hand pass out. Sainsbury towed it out. And if Feagit was not looking for the boundary, I'm not here. Finally, Ashley almost guided it across. Boy, this is sloppy again. And pulled off the ball. Surely that is a free kick. Yes! And the crowd says, at last a free kick for the Bulldogs to Krieg.
Oh! Marco Bello got one then.
Well, Ross Funk perhaps the culprit as the ball goes forward. Falls into the arms of Bamford. Can't handle it. Neither can Graham. Bamford almost taken out by Bello, looking for some revenge, and eventually the ball comes back to where it all started, and the man who started it all in Krieg picks his mouthguard out of the mud. Oh no, maybe it wasn't his mouthguard. I thought it was. I don't want to put
It's amazing what you can find in the Elizabeth Oval, Neil Gunner.
It's a gold mine. Thought he was saying, I'm not going to put that in my mouth at the moment. Well, that could be a free kick either way. Too high on both players' account. Ashley just gets it forward. And again, sloppy but desperate play from both clubs. O'Loughlin throws the head back, says umpire, please. Peter Williams says, throw it in.
The temper's a bit frayed at the moment, I think, Neil and Michael. Both teams are starting to go a little bit harder as they have been throughout the game.
I think a little bit frustrated in the conditions, I think.
I think so.
Inability to be able to get some clean football. Kingsley. Evans, which way will it bounce? Overran it. Thomas. Knocked it up well. Handball let himself down. Platt has been dangerous today. Inside 50. Good lead. Ackland on the bounce. Couldn't stretch below the knees. Diving effort by Benke. Keeping it inside the forward 50. Got the handball back. Ackland just fought on the ground again. Just got Thomas out of the way. It dribbles to the line. Well, the umpire could have played 2 or 3 free kicks there, but let it go.
Oh, have a look at this. Watch this. Whoa. Oh, that was... watch this one. Into the ribs. Into the ribs. Watch this. Ross Franke goes one. Can't see. He'll come back again. He'll might just get a jab.
Like bouncing off a brick wall there. Bello. Kick outside. Kingsley. Got a call from Funk at the back. 3/4 time at Elizabeth Oval in a quarter that we saw just the 2 behind scored. Port Adelaide 7-6-48. Lead Central 3-2-20.
And 28 points, Michael, I don't know, would be enough. In these conditions, you probably think there'll be enough at Elizabeth Oval. It's a big oval condition. It's only getting muddier and muddier. But again, Port Adelaide didn't really extend their lead, but I think they've got enough momentum and points in front to really to come through. And again, that man on screen, Justin Platt's been outstanding all day as Ricky O'Loughlin. And Neil, if you're Roy Laird, what do you say to your Chargers at 3/4 time?
Well, you say we need more than 3 goals 2 on the board. You look at that, 3 goals 2, only the 1 point for either side in that quarter. 7 goals, 6:48, so a 28-point lead as it was at half-time for Port Adelaide.
And the goal kickers, well, as they only scored 1 point each, the goal kickers stayed the same. Bello, Gowan, Sainsbury, one apiece. And for Port Adelaide, well, Plapp's been instrumental all day, as with Binky and Evans and Kingsley have been constructive all day.
Have indeed, as we look at those stats, and again, Port Adelaide still a few too many kicks compared with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it has, and we've talked about the hit-outs. Port Adelaide have been dominant with Powery and Ackland against Scholar and Arnold in the inside 50s, and we talked about that before at half-time, where both teams have had the same amount of forward entries, but I think Port Adelaide's movement have been more free and quite easy. I think they've protected the ball carriers and been more systematic.
And of course, we talked a couple of times about the melee that occurred last week. Yes, at the Adelaide Oval. It was just after the siren at half-time. See, Matthew Thomas and one of the Gowans boys started off a push and shove, and naturally James was supported by his brother, and then it spilled over the boundary line now, as had been the case for perhaps as much as 30 years. The mini-league players were sitting on the boundary line waiting to come on, and the players spilled towards them. And certainly the Evanston Primary School boys were rather taken aback by it, and certainly that lad, Angus Cale, was upset. Now, as a result, the SANFL has made a ruling.
Which is great. And I think it's a credit to the SANFL that jumped on it and changed it really in a quick way.
And out during the week on Thursday night, in fact, a few of the Centrals boys went out to the Evanston Primary School and conducted a coaching clinic with the girls, as you see, and boys of the school.
Which is great, and every SNFL club does that, and I know Simon Arnold, who's on screen now, does a lot of for Central Districts, and I think that's just great for the SNFL to say, hang on, let's get back and promote our football, because unfortunately it was just an accident that, you know, it was at the wrong time, at the wrong place, but no one seriously got injured, and again, they've responded to make a quick change.
As we see there, the kids loving it. Simon Arnott.
I don't know if that's holding the ball or holding the bag.
Yes, obviously they had a good time in conditions that are probably a little bit better than they have been this afternoon. And we see the lad with the arms raised in the middle, Angus Cale, who, as we saw, was in tears after that little incident at half-time of the mini-league. Now, as a result of that, we've got a situation where the SANFL won't allow the mini-league players to run onto the ground until after the siren for half-time. And this is what happened earlier today, where they were escorted onto the ground well and truly after the players had certainly finished doing their combating this afternoon. The boys were happy about it.
And I think it's a great move by the SNFL, because it really made them feel safe, and they responded very quickly, which is excellent.
That's the Tanunda and Nuriutpa primary school lads playing, and look, Jack Foray from the Tanunda Mini League joins us. And Jack, you look cold and wet, and well, we can't do anything about the weather, unfortunately, but how did you find the situation? I guess you would have coached Mini League before when they were allowed on the fence. What was the situation like today?
Well, I think it's a common sense approach the league's adopted. I don't think any unauthorised player or people should be allowed on the player arena while the game's in process.
Well, that's fair enough. Jack, have you always thought that that was a dangerous policy, to allow the kids inside the boundary before the half-time siren?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, like these are little tackers on the field there, and you've got big grown men in the progress of a game, and they're serious about what they're doing, so you can't begrudge league footballers for tackling the situation with venom. And they just shouldn't be there. There's a time and place, and that is not the time and place to have young players.
Jack, just a question. When it first happened and you knew that you were going to be playing mini-league this week, did any of the parents confront you about the situation and where their children are going to be placed on this Saturday?
It was certainly a talking point at the club that some of the parents did mention that they hoped the league would act accordingly, and they have done that by keeping the players off. I just think it's just one of those little things the SANFL have let get under their guard. If you look at all affiliated leagues with the SANFL, even the country football, we don't allow unauthorised personnel on there while senior football takes place, and really the league's the only ones that do.
Well, Jack, thanks for joining us. Having a bit of a problem with the earpiece there, but thanks for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate the conditions are fairly difficult, and they were for the kids as well. Now down to Siders, who's been listening to all the huddles amidst all the rain.
Well, Neil, I was going to say the weather had improved in that third quarter, but just as it did, the rain did come down. Now, an arm wrestle really that quarter with only a point added by both the sides. Roy Laird, he's got his team to open up the forward line. He said just take as many risks as you can, because to kick 5 goals in this weather is going to be a tough ask.
Take your time getting off the ground, mate, and they will swamp you as we approach the final quarter. Here's Michael Maney.
Thanks, Neil. Where's the thunder? Where's the lightning? Last term underway in round 21 of the SANFL. Good lead for the Magpies. Out of the centre, taken by Ebert as the rain keeps pelting down. Platt can't quite take the mark. Evans kicked off the ground by Hereda. It's pouring down at the moment, as you can see. Hereda's short kick, Chris Gowans. They've got no men on the bench, Central District, with Hopwood off the ground in the first 14 seconds of the game. Daniel Healy and Matty Slade. Long torpedo by Gowans to the outer side. Ebert claims the mark, paid it by the umpire. Spears it towards centre half forward. Loose ball, O'Loughlin, very clever player, just gets around. Kicks a long ball. In these conditions, good kick. Evans couldn't take it. Beaky tried to kick it. And Chris Gowans just scrapes it through for a behind.
It'll be very interesting. Now, Mark, I just want to ask you a question. Jack Ferret, you didn't want to lend him your umbrella at 3/4 time?
Well, Julian, look, I did offer it to him, but he was a long way away, so unfortunately Jack did have to cop a little bit of rain on the head.
Wouldn't have heard you, would he? He was that far away. I bet you weren't screaming either, Sodas.
Just a gentle whisper.
So, well, at least they've scored up behind early in this quarter. In this third quarter, it took the players 7 minutes to get a score. When they did, of course, it was a minor score. So we've only had 3 points kicked in the second half so far. Port Adelaide out by 29 points. Brown around the corner, marked solidly by Brooks, and half-back right for Central District. Brooks takes his time, goes in short to Shell. That was asking a lot to get that kick online. Shell around the corner, down the line, muddier side of the oval, this one, and a ball over the line. Gowans, James, just holding his left shoulder, might be in a bit of trouble there as we see him in the background behind Ross Folk.
And Daniel Shell, when he just jammed that ball on his boot, he had mud in his eye, couldn't see a thing. That's why he got rid of it so quickly.
All just back into play, well handled and kicked forward by Thomas. Down towards half forward, socket wide, Funk, hand pass off to Clayton, hand pass off to Bamford, hand pass again to Sinkunis and then to Ashley. Ashley's kick taken by Hereda.
Brian Hereda's done it quite well today. I think it's centre half back. He's picked up a few possessions. We might cross to Moggy and see what possessions he's got. But I think he's been a little bit of the general back there today in a difficult game.
Yes, he has 5 of each, Julian. I think he's on top of Binky now.
Yep.
Ryan Binky, let's have a look. He's kicked 2 goals in these conditions. That'd be pretty valuable.
They are. Next to see Braden Lowe and Nigel Fegert sharing a joke. It's amazing what you can share a joke after when you're 29 points up in atrocious conditions.
Atrocious is the word. Swatala just jammed it on the boot. Tried to get it forward. Sliding there was off to Hyde. Taken by Bello, who's been in pretty good form. They dive on the footy, over the back, Fegert. Graham went to tackle him, slipped off. Archie, the handball over. Sainsbury, did he get a boot on it? We'll wait on it. Goal umpire, I think he's going to tell us it's a goal to Sainsbury. Well, it fell on his boot.
Well, that's bringing the game to a bit of a light in the crowd. I love it, as we can see on screen. Steve Williams, might take a deep breath. He's not over it yet. But maybe Tony Brown's been a star all day, but just took this a bit lightly, dropped out of his hands. Sainsbury, a bit of pressure. Fortuitously, these balls just... the ball's just landing on a puddle of water. I don't think the umpire can really see the line.
A goal to who?
It's a goal to Quinton Graham, I'd say.
Quinton Graham?
So we're right. Sainsbury slash Graham. We're not really sure.
The first shared goal in SANFL history.
Boys, just to let you know, Roy Laird has actually come down onto the bench to watch the game. He's sitting next to his captain, Daniel Healy.
There's Roy, the shaved head. Central's go forward again. Basically, since the 19-minute mark of the second term, they've had the majority of the scoring. Ball out wide. Tony Brown slides in just to ensure it goes over the line out there.
So one thing I like about Elizabeth Oval, looking at Roy Laird and Daniel Healy, just talking about tactics where they can improve, but the fence from the boundary line is quite, it's like 2 or 3 metres, which allows on wet conditions a player to slide, and he won't hit the gutter or the fence as hard as he would at, say, Unley or a Norwood.
Well, Unley, where they've got that guttering right around the ground, doesn't matter whether there's a fence there, you're still likely to jam your knees straight into the concrete.
Yep.
In fact, we saw that earlier this year.
We
I'm
did.
just trying to remember who that was that slid into the guttering.
In the AFL?
No,
was it Unley Oval?
Was it Unley Oval?
I think was it a Norwood player? No, I don't know. It was very interesting, and Sturt responded straight away by putting something in place. So, again, credit to the Sturt Football Club. Just like the SNFL, something goes wrong, they jump on it and modify it straight away.
See that guttering, but it is quite a distance from the boundary line here at Elizabeth. Ball back into play, down towards half forward for Port Adelaide. Found the going tough since half time. And managed to add 2 points to the game. As we have a look, there's that guttering, but good.
It's a good 3 metres away, and it just allows the players a bit of space. When they slide, they can just prepare themselves, put their body in the right position so they don't create a severe injury for themselves.
It was Andrew Beveridge, I remember. That's who it was, from Sturt, who slid into that guttering at Unley Oval, got up and pretended as if nothing had happened, whilst limping very severely.
Didn't play for 5 weeks.
You know your Sturt players, Neil.
Oh, Neil was a Sturt boy many years ago. Now he's a St. Peter's boy.
Playing in the finals of Savi, just in case you were wondering.
Boundary throw in. Working hard was Kingsley. Brown got one high. On the way through, Tony Brown.
You fucking must miss this, eh?
Really quite...
Did you? I didn't get that, but Tony Brown's not wearing a microphone, is he?
No. Picked up on now one of our camera mics. Kick by Brown, marked by Evans.
Played in front as the Port forwards have all day. Fortuitously, the ball landed forward in his hands, but again, Paul Evans had a good battle with Brian Herrera most of the day. Has been one of the trio of Platt, Evans and Binky, who've probably starred, especially early on when the game had to be won, and these 3 players stood up.
Evans might not get the journey with a heavy ball into the pocket. And just rolls out of bounds. So another chance, though, for the Magpies. They get another goal. They'd like a steadier.
Yeah, I think so. I think one major would probably seal it, I think. Just take their pressure off. Even though they're 23 points up, we've still got 20 minutes to play, and Central Districts are a quality team.
Schooler does some heavy work. Tries to kick it off the ground. O'Loughlin can't get through. Good tackle by Steinburner. Gowans, James, tries to find Bello. Very close to the line, couldn't keep it in. A tough day, a tough day at the office.
It is. Set for that lady with a smile on the dial. She's loving it, only because she's a Magpie supporter.
Well, I heard the call from the crowd then from our effects mic saying deliberate from James Gowans, but of course the ball actually didn't get there. I know what his intent was, but the ball didn't get there before the players came in, eventually took it over the line in the end.
Mark, just down on the boundary line, is Roy Laird and Daniel Healy talking quite consistently about the game, or are they just onlookers?
No, I think they're actually probably talking about the game, Julian, not what they're going to be doing a little bit later. Roy did speak to his players at length at the break, giving them a bit of an idea of how he wants them to play with a very open forward line and take risks. So I think perhaps he's taking the opportunity to sit down with his captain while the game's on, which wouldn't happen very often, and just perhaps try a few things before finals time.
Take risks. Well, gee, this afternoon, taking the ball is a risk, I reckon. It's pretty hard, isn't it?
It's a tough day at the office. And as you can see, Tyson Hay, he's worn out. And basically, playing in these conditions just take a lot more energy out of your body. And it's like any competitive sport, any tough conditions, just sliding, get yourself up and tackling. It just takes a really lot out of your body.
James Gowans taken high. Umpire pays that free kick. Arthur McDowell will stand in front of the ball just to be clever.
I don't think James is a happy man, is he? Talk about tough day at the office. He had a tough day.
Yes, and I think he's got a problem with that left shoulder anyway. So tries to talk. That'll go out in the full. And Nathan McDowell, I was expecting a little bit of response from McDowell, but he didn't.
I was looking for that.
Off camera. So it's been such a terrible day. Not even James Gowans and McDowell can fire up. So
and I'm sure Stephen Williams wouldn't want his charges to relax here as well. They've had a good, say they have a good win, but they would like to finish off the game in a positive, I suppose, be productive, keep pushing the ball forward and play to the game plan right to the final siren.
Ebert dumps the ball inside 50. Brown soccers it off the ground. Steinberger looks for the line. McDowell intercepts it, puts his head down. Umpire calls still play on. Eventually it's rushed through for a behind. Does it get there? Yes, it does.
And again, we talked about it. The Port players just keep pushing the ball forward. Brian Binky just using all the energy he has left just to make sure the ball stays in play.
To the outer side. 26 plays 50. Long way for Centrals. Graham just lopes away, kicks down the wing, ill-directed. Funk, the lone man standing there. So another turnover.
He's been one of those magical 6 today that stood up tall today, especially early in the game, like we said, when the game had to be won.
Not a good kick, James Gowan. So a couple of ill-directed kicks, but understandable in the conditions today. Short one by Gowans to Schooler. They get a bit of run through Steinberner from half-back. Kicks looking for Sansbury, who did well. Just burns off Sinkunis, who chased well.
Right,
put the pressure on. In goes off to Hyde. We'll get a free kick for a push. I don't think it was there. It was Ticky Touchwood. There's been plenty of others paid today, but anyway.
And this is what Steve Williams wants for his players. Just that tenacity right at the end. Just play the game right out. Just tackle and chase. And it's disappointing he gave away a free kick, but Stephen Williams will remember that chase.
Off to Hyde, kicks to the hot spot. Arnold couldn't take the mark. Roves at the back by Lyle, who looks for Kingsley, who's wearing 46 in the second half. Experience from Kingsley, just wobbles it toward the line. Ebert can't keep it in. Boundary throw in, 11 minutes gone in the final term. 50 plays 26. The Magpies, even 11 minutes gone, look like they're home, Julian.
And that young lad, he's having a smile, just flashing his big pearly whites. He's missing one. But again, the best thing about Port Adelaide is going back to Albion tonight. It's a long way out here and a hard day of slog. If you go back with the 2 points, it makes the journey back to Albion a lot more enjoyable if you didn't win.
Arnott to Swatala. Centrals loaded up. Long wobbly ball by Swatala. Bounces the wrong way. One behind. They need those to go through, and they need them quickly.
They do. So Port Adelaide, 23 buffer, point buffer.
Adam Swatala's had 11 kicks since half-time, 13 and 4 for the day.
Sorry, Moggy, who was that?
Adam Swatala will be very busy this half.
Swatala.
So 23 points, just ticking over 12 minutes. They've got to score, well, what's that, 4 goals to win. They kicked 3-4 for the afternoon, Centrals. So it is a tough ask. Approaching sort of halfway through this last quarter. Parry wide on the far side of the ground, called the play on, boots it long towards Kingsley, who followed up. Krieg over the ball for Centrals. Then Ebert toe pokes it over the line at half-back right for the Magpies.
Brett Ebert with 2 rounds to go. Here's my tip for the Magarey medal this year, Brett Ebert. I think he's in a team that hasn't had many big wins, but he's played well. He's played some major, had some stellar performances throughout the year to poll very well.
16 and 5 today, and I'm with you, Julian.
Up with my best. Thanks, Moggy. You've always been a big supporter of mine.
Well, the question is, as he gets himself off the ground to take a free kick.
So yeah, and he's picking up kicks late in the last quarter, which is going to remain in the umpires. So
you and Moggy talking to each other again?
No, I just think it'd be interesting come a Magarey medal night. I wouldn't be surprised if Brett Ebert gets some votes in this game.
It'll be interesting to see if the umpires have the Cinderella story in mind, because his father having won the Magarey 4 times.
Yes.
And Russell Ebert, a legend of SANFL football.
And I think Russell did win one in 1974. Sorry, no, he didn't win. I was thinking, hang on, let me get my facts right first.
He won the last of his 4 medals in 1980.
Yes, I think he won one in 74, 77.
Keep thinking.
Gee, I've got 2.
I reckon it was 71, 74, 76 and 80.
80? Moggy, I wouldn't argue with you.
Check that.
It was Wilson getting his knee attended to. Looks like his afternoon is finished. Port Adelaide down towards half forward. Hay. McDowell traps him. He goes with a hand pass to Steinberner. Then infield. Gee, they need some things to come off now. That kick didn't. Sinkunis couldn't pick it up though. Well, just the conditions, just making things so difficult for clean possession. Arnold perhaps should have kicked that. Hand pass went astray. Ashley fighting hard. Ball down again. Central's trying so hard to get the ball forward, but ineffectively at the moment. And in fact, we've really only had that one term of effective play up forward as we watch what happens to Hay here. Just stretching his athletic abilities in that particular situation.
Well, you got yourself out that very well, I thought, Neil.
He's doing the splits. Watala kicks into the pocket, off to Hyde, who's gone forward. Just runs the ball out, so Roy Laird at least trying something, maybe off to Hyde and give them something up
you
forward.
probably say the game is over, but Central Districts next week come up the Eagles against the Woodville Oval. Both teams played in tough, hard matches, so it'll be interesting to see how coaches prepare their team for a big game next week, and Port Adelaide have the bye. So again, you know, finishing off on a high at Port Magpies, where Central's again, they've got a big game again next week.
Here's the chance. Schooler couldn't hold on to the slippery cake of soap. James Gowans goes down to ground, boots it forward. Can't take the mark, off to Hyde. Rode well by Ebert, who gets another possession in the last quarter. And the spear finds Plapp at half back in front of Quentin Graham. Doesn't have much to kick to. Handball. Just set Ebert a task. He's good enough to run away from Graham and just kick a wobbly ball up forward. Did well. Evans, a Raiders got him locked up. No attempt to get rid of that. And to be fair to Evans, he had that ball sort of held in. And another boundary throw in.
Good tackle by Brian Harady. Took him to the boundary line. Make it a dead rubber.
15 minutes gone, final term. Time ticking away for the Bulldogs. Ashley to Plapp. Up and under kick. McDowell over the back. All done by Hay. Kick smothered. St Kunis. Thomas is there. Just wobble it to the line. We'll have harped on it. The conditions really have been horrific today for the players.
And that man on screen before, Ricky O'Loughlin, Moggy, what's his stats compared to Brett Eberts? Because they've been two dominant midfielders on the ground today.
Yeah, that's right. Ricky O'Loughlin 17 and 1, and Brett Ebert 19 and 5.
McDowell just paddles to the line. So they wouldn't mind this Port Adelaide, as many boundary throw-ins and ball-ups that they can get. There's Craig Parry, who once again has been good in the ruck.
Yeah, he's been good all day, hasn't he? He's been a real workhorse. Only a young lad from Perth. Well, as you said before, he's been the revelation this year. Could go for Team of the Year.
Have to be a show.
It would have to be the show.
Hay, St Kunis, got it out. Another possession to Ebert. Long kick. Shell couldn't hold on. Benke did well. Kicked it back inboard. Mark taken by Evans. Can he seal it? Evans has put the icing on the cake for the Maggies. And Paul Evans gets his second of the afternoon. Goal number 42 for the year.
And you can see the players getting around Paul Evans, but also Brett Ebert on the wing. He's been a workhorse, just pushed his body to the limits. Daniel Shell couldn't take the mark. Tough conditions. Brian Benke got it on quickly, and Paul Evans settled, composed, kicked the ball forward. And I think that was a goal that Stephen Williams probably now can sit back and say, right, I think we're at home. You know, come close to the 20-minute mark of the last quarter. And Paul Evans, I think he's got 2, Binky's got 2, and Plapper's got 3. So, you know, that's 7 goals between your key forwards. We're up at Central's other end, well, unfortunately, they don't have any between their key forwards.
Brett Ebert in trouble back in the middle as Central's goes forward. Clayton with the punch down, fires up. Funk, who's been good back there this afternoon. This guy's been great. Matthew Ashley, like a pig in mud. He's really enjoyed it. Here's Brown. Spotted a trainer, perhaps. That's what it looked like he was kicking to for a moment. Tyson Hay shows how to pick it up in the wet. The one hand, and then off the left foot. He's kicked, found Parry. So we see there Brett Ebert just recovering in the middle. Looks like he's okay. Perhaps it was just mud in his eye. O'Loughlin inside 50, not the greatest of kicks. Umpire calls play on. Hay gives it back to Krieg, wants to go to the far side of the ground. Finds Swatala, well handled in the end. In the tricky hand pass over the shoulder, sets a task for Shell, was good enough, the kick wasn't. Fegan, experience, body, well done. Got the kick forward, not effectively though. Swatala, he does look good when he runs Swatala. Of course, like everybody, I guess he'd appreciate a dry track, which this isn't. Bello, down the outer side of the ground, approaching the 50. It's about 10 metres in front of him. With the right foot, or rather the left foot, goes against James Gowans, or Chris Gowans, I'm sorry. So Chris Gowans, long kick, this in heavy conditions. Just he might want to pass it off short.
14 and 6 today for Chris Gowans.
Go the top, son, go the top.
Goes the top, got to be at the front. Oh, it could be no. That was almost a soccer cross and a chance just to knot it in. But it wasn't to be. In the end, rushed through. I think we'll probably count that.
Not a bad effort here.
Was well done by Sainsbury, and then just unable to get a boot to ball across the line.
Clayton runs out of defensive 50. The target's Ebert. Can't hold on to the mark. Surely a free kick. Dealt with. No free. Umpire lets it go. Steinburner burns off St Kunis. Kicks it inside 50. They fly. No one can take the mark. James Gowans went without it. Follows up well on the ground. Did well. Diving on the football. Taken by Feagit. He's had enough of that business. Decides to kick it along to the wing. Looking for McDowell. Ball thumped away by Hay. Ricky O'Loughlin. Good tackle by Krieg. Turnover. Hay uses Steinburner. He had Schooler. Decided to go toward half forward to Gowans. But getting in the way was Craig Perry. And he copped one from his corner from Chris Gowans. Oh, I love that stuff, the Gowans boys. Just like to get everybody on the edge. Taken by Lyle. Kicks forward. Evans knocked away by Hereda. O'Loughlin goes off the ground. Hay does the curtsy, back pedals. Handball out to Hereda. Wants to use Krieg, who just slipped as he kicked. Mopped up by Parry. To Ebert, who loads up a mongrel. The half forward from the back. Platt just knocked it away from Quentin Graham. Ball locked up. Umpire will throw it.
9 kicks in the last quarter for Brett Ebert.
3 votes, Moggy, 3 votes. Umpires always remember the last quarter.
The physio might have a few groins to look after, I reckon. A few strained groins with the splits from the Centrals boys this afternoon as the ball comes forward again for Central District. They get another opportunity. They need somewhat of a miracle in these conditions. Harry Miller produces a miracle in controlling that ball that time. Bamford squares it. Archie. Nobody running for him on the far side of the ground, but Miller's tried to take it that way, thinks better of it. On this side of the ground, he has many more options, including Bamford. Picks up the soap eventually. Goes wide. Clayton, unable to handle it. Now back Lyle. Round the corner, should be a mark, it is. Krieg takes the mark. So that ball just, as I said, a cake of soap just moving around and around. Passed into time on. 28-point margin in favour of Port Adelaide. That's what it was at half-time. It's been a scoring drought on a very wet day in the second half.
Boundary throw in. Port Adelaide. Double Central score. 28 plays 56. Surely not too much more time to go. Only had a couple of goals in this term. Sainsbury knocked away from Arnott by Lyle. Swatala, who gets another possession in the last term, to Hay, who's been good all day. Feagit at the back, knocked it away. Has to rove his own ball. That's great play by Feagit and finds the line. It wobbles out toward the line. Funk quite happy to see it dribble over. And that is classic defence by Nigel Feagit. All about to be thrown in, there's Corey Archie. Knocked it down. Coulter just jammed it on the boot, just a dribbly kick. Sainsbury went off the ground. Kingsley held up by Coulter. St Kunis in hard. Parry just foxed it out. Kingsley and also Chris Gowans. Coulter hailing the cab. There's the muddy bodies. It's been a tough one for both teams today.
Kingsley just getting his feet, finding his feet in football again, looking to get back in that Port Adelaide AFL lineup. Don't know if this will do the body the greatest of good this afternoon. It's been so tough out there. As you see again, bodies going everywhere. This is almost where players are seeing our time, isn't it?
Yeah,
Margin.
Sure. Oh, sorry, Neil, I was going to say, I'm sure the players will be dying to wait for the siren bell to get in those warm showers that Elizabeth had.
Not in the Port Adelaide rooms, I don't think. Is that right? Ball comes down. Funk just props over it. Now he might be in a bit of trouble. He's being hailed, and in the end, hailed to get rid of it. He pushes it out over towards the boundary line. Eventually it'll be over. Yes, it will. Boundary throw in 457 as Bamford gets to his feet, having escorted the ball over there.
Good to see Tony Bamford back playing good football for the Port Magpies. Had a bit of injury interrupted year. But again, after a couple of knee reconstruction, he's back to his best football.
10 and 6 today.
Bamford, man in question. Ball onto the boot, partially smothered. That's why it stayed in the forward 50 for Centrals. Ebert just thumps it out of the forward 50. Hay will want his left leg. Around on that left leg, finds a bit of space. No Centrals player on that side of the ground came to him. Feagit almost took the mark 20 metres from goal. And in the end, Ebert, will he be pinched for holding the ball? No. Umpire's very lenient, as you'd expect on a muddy day. Gowans couldn't pick it up. In comes Thomas. Clean pair of heels from Thomas. Kicks it back into a danger zone, 20 metres from goal. Another opportunity for Gowans. That's Chris Gowans, high and long to the square. Will bring rain, that's not what we want. And indeed, eventually we'll get a bounce up, ball up,
and
whatever you want to call it.
Mark Soderstrom looking at itchy feet down there. You're moving gingerly. You're ready to go on, are we?
I think, Julian, it's just about all over, isn't it? It's wrapped up. Let's get out there.
Archie says play it out right to the death. Corey Archie taken by Feagit, who's had a pretty good final term, been good all day. Miller look for Kingsley, falls out the back to Swatala, and that sums up the day for Central District. Off the side of the boot, out of bounds on the full.
You know, that's interesting. I think Roy Laird will be a little bit disappointed with that. Was Adam Swatala just blazed away. He had an opportunity just to put a goal on the board, just had only a bit of credibility to his own score.
A bit worried about the distance, I think, from there with a wet, heavy ball. Braden Lyle kicks into Arnott. Got it back from Funk, off a step, outside 50. Ebert couldn't take the mark. In hard, Kingsley. Another ball up. Things get a little bit heated. It's a bit late for that if you're a Centrals player. Not long to go in the game. The Magpies have it all sewn up. Bello will try to keep it in. Good soccer skills. And the ball's been marked by Sinkunis in the back pocket. Wanted to go short. He's got a hand on it. Bamford, another kick for him. Thumped forward by Arnold. Bamford again. Another possession. He'll want the line. Miller just gives it back to Bamford. Bamford's kick didn't go 15. Braden Lyle needs to get it on the boot. Maybe go to off the height, who couldn't take the mark. Well played, Archie. Read it from the back. Used Feagit. Feagit's dribbly kick. Sainsbury, normally clever in these situations. Handball back, kicked off the ground as Kingsley goes off, as we saw in the box. Hay, taken by Swatala. Liked his game today. He's kept at it. Funk kicks down the line. And the mark taken by Plapp.
Plapp squares it up. And Port Adelaide have the runners. They could finish in style here. Approaching the 50, Sinkunis drives it in low and hard and effectively no Binky off the ground goal. 3 to Binky, and as if there was any doubt, time on in the final quarter. Port Adelaide kicking another goal just to ensure there was no doubt. 34 points the margin.
You can see Brian Binky or Paul Evans, one of them was going to kick a goal, either marked or off the ground. And again, Stephen Williams will be very happy with his forward charges. Again, Justin Plapp got the ball on the midfield, brought it inside. And they've worked well as a three-way tandem today. And again, this year, 2003 might be over, but again, it gives the Port supporters some hope and belief for 2004.
34 points the difference. It was 32 points at quarter time. That's where the Magpies have won the game, you'd have to say. Miller to O'Loughlin, the Indigenous boys working well. Ebert kicks it off the ground. James Gowans, short kick, relayed free kick will go down the ground. There's the siren all over at Elizabeth Oval. The Magpies too good this afternoon, booting 9-8-62 to Central District 4-4-28, and the ladder leaders in the SANFL upset by the Magpies.
And it's amazing, I think, as we can see just on the screen. Oh! Young Parry, we hope that doesn't go to the screen, the umpires, because he won't be playing next week, I'd see. Josh Calder puts his hand up in the air. A bit stupid by young Parry to do that. But again, great win. I think the Port Magpies controlled the game from the start. And as we near the background, the Central supporters not too happy, but the Port supporters, and that man on screen, Parry, did ignite the Port Magpies early on with some incredible ruck work. So Neil Cross, Port Magpies, good win. Central Districts next week. Well done. Just having a shake of Steve Williams' hand. Steve, he's a happy man. And again, as we can see, we'll go across down to the boundary rider with gumboots on. Mark Soderstrom.
Yeah, thanks, Juice. I'm with the skipper, Braden Lyle. Tough day at the office.
Oh, what a slog that was, coming out here, and the rain was belting down, and you look out on the ground, it's just mud everywhere. It's not like normal game day here at Elizabeth. You're expecting something dry and open space, and you can run all day, but it wasn't to be today.
It certainly didn't affect the start. It was a super beginning for you guys.
Yeah, I think that's what we wanted. We got off to a good start and kicked those early goals, and Central's a great side. They're going to play off in the finals, and they should be in the grand final, and they kept fighting it out and pegging away. But the boys, it's good. If we had a final five, we'd be in there and we'd be playing finals, and I reckon we would have scared a few clubs too.
And even though the conditions were tough, it was great delivery into the forward line earlier. It did set things up.
Early it was, yeah. It was. The skills were pretty good, but boys get tired playing in these conditions, and the legs are getting pretty heavy. So it took a while for we're glad we got the score on the board early, and that's what we want, I think.
Well, congratulations on the win. Get in there and have a hot shower, Braden.
Thought of that. Can't wait.
Tell you what, they're not guaranteed of hot showers.
Now, the facilities here at the Ponderosa, Elizabeth Oval, Napa Oval are tremendous, and I'm sure the Port Adelaide players will be enjoying their showers a lot more than the Central Districts players.
One of the boys down there, you might have noticed, using one of the water bottles to maybe start the showers early.
And then on screen you can see the Port Magpies players, saying thank you to the supporters. It's come out a long way, and they put on a great effort. And again, they've got a bye next week, and they'll enjoy the 2-week break before they play the last game of the year.
Well, I last beat Central District out here at Elizabeth in March 2000, so 3 years,
Long
3.5
time
years since they tasted victory out here, and they've tasted the mud, they've tasted every inch of the Elizabeth Oval this afternoon, and they've come away with a rather big victory, which Moggy could probably do the sums and tell us exactly what they have to do now in order to make the finals, Port Adelaide.
Well, they have to pray and hope that North beat Sturt. That's the main thing they have to do.
Well, that's the start. We'll have to wait for North to beat Sturt. Just go through, and Adam Kingsley opened the day with the first score for Port Adelaide this afternoon, the first major score, kicking a goal at the 11-minute mark. And besides Kingsley, pretty much the rest of the Port scoring was done by Plapp, Binky and Evans up forward.
Well, as you can see, Plapp had the ball on a string early on when the conditions were dry. Even though it did rain, but there was no rain around. That's when Port Adelaide won the game, like Braden said. The game was when it had to be won. They played, I suppose, enjoyable football, if you can say that, in wet conditions. The skills were good. They took the ball clean, moved the ball forward, as we talked about all day, systematically. And when you got keyed forwards like Plapp, who's on screen now, and he kicked that goal just before quarter time, and he had 2 goals too before the game really got even started, and he was instrumental, along with Paul Evans, who's been a revelation throughout this year, coming back from last year, and Brian Binky ended up with 3 goals as well.
Yeah, Central's, that ends their winning streak at 6, so that's they were a formed team. Look, they've won 7 and now lost 2 here at Elizabeth this season, so they're in reasonable nick, and Port Adelaide has shown, as Braden Lyle mentioned, that they have a lot to offer, and perhaps if there'd been a final 5, they would have certainly scared a few sides.
And as you can see, Steve Williams is overwhelmed, as we can see, because coming down from the coach's box to stop and shake hands with the commentator. I think it's impressed him for the win.
A lowly commentator.
Yes, and I think Stephen Williams is probably thinking, well, I have got a team who can play football. He's probably known that for the whole year, and I suppose coming towards the end of the year, he can sense some patterns starting to emerge.
I know he did say early on that he thought it would take them a while to gel. Clearly, I think it did take a while for them to gel, and they've shown certainly in the last 6 weeks or so that they do have some style and some class among their players.
Well, we talked about Jared Polton. He's another player that they've took him to the power this week, and imagine we put him in, he would have really excelled in these conditions. He's an in and under sort of player. So probably we had Ackland, Binky and Polton who went out this year, but young Ebert starting to prosper into the player that he can be. So again, Port Adelaide's got some future on their hands.
Well, just we look through those scores, and as Michael Maney suggested, that 32-point quarter-time lead, having kicked 5-3 to a point in the opening term, really did open it up for Port Adelaide, and in the end, 34-point victory and 32 points at quarter-time.
And as we see the goal scorers, Platt, Binky and Evans, we've talked about them, and as you said earlier, Neil Kingsley had the other one, and Sansbury, Bello, Chris Gowans kicked 4 between them. But the interesting thing about it was Central Districts had 2 points per quarter time against Norwood last week, 1 point against Port this week. I think they might have some problems. It'll be interesting how Roy Laird's going to come up next week against the Eagles to get a bit of a upbeat start.
So look through those stats. Moggy, just quickly, the top two from both sides?
Yes, for the Doggies, Matthew Craig led the way with 25, Adam Suktala 22, and for the Magpies, Brett Ebert 28 and Tony Brown 26.
Very interesting. Well, we'll go and have a listen to Port Adelaide and how they enjoyed the win. Port Adelaide very happy there. I thought it might actually end up being the lowest winning score of the season, but believe it or not, Sturt kicked 8-8-56 to Port's 6-10-46. That was the lowest winning score of the season. Port Adelaide this afternoon 9-8-62. Now, Sodas is down in the rooms with Stephen Williams.
Thanks, Neil. Stephen, it was a terrific win in pretty tough conditions there.
Yeah, it was. I thought the start in particular, we just got off to a great start as we did against Sturt last week, and guys just worked really hard all day in those conditions. I was pretty confident that we'd win the game no matter the conditions, but the guys just worked really hard and didn't give Centrals the opportunity to get back into the game.
Now, during the year, you've beaten all teams in the top four. You've beaten Central Districts twice. Your best is certainly good enough, but has it been frustrating as coach?
It has, yeah. As you said, our best is no doubt good enough. Having beaten everybody, we probably had our best side all season in the last couple of weeks, and played accordingly against probably the two sides that probably are favourites maybe to play in the grand final, Sturt and Central. So it is disappointing not to be there, but we just got to make sure next year that you don't lose games against the lower sides that you should win.
And the structure of the forward line has worked pretty well most of the year. Again today, your three tall forwards were terrific and set up the win at the start.
Yeah, they're good players and they're athletic. They can play, pick up the ground balls, or they can mark the ball above their head. So they're very versatile. And I think we're the second highest scoring side next to Centrals for the competition. So our forward structure's been pretty good all year, as you said.
And Steve, you're very determined yourself to go on again next year.
Well, I'm out of contract now, so I suppose I've just got to sit down over the next few weeks with the club and just see which way we both want to go. But it's definitely encouraging the way the guys have finished the season off. That there's some real talent, and our prospects over the next few seasons look pretty good.
And you've just made a few friends in the background here because you did say there's no training tomorrow morning with the bye coming up.
Yeah, I don't know, actually. It's not up my call. That's up to our fitness guy. But no, they worked pretty hard today, so I wouldn't mind them having the day off. That's fine.
All right, Steve. Well, thanks for your time and congratulations on the victory today.
Thanks, Status.
And I think the showers might be pretty hot in there. The camera having trouble. We just have a look at the little bit of push and shove that happened. This happened after the final siren. So no mini-league players out there, and I'd suggest Craig Parry might be in a bit of trouble for that little straight left, which was a very good punch, actually.
It was. And not needed, but especially when you've won the game and you've got a bye next week, so that could be his last game of the year if he's not careful.
Yes, well, we did mention too that I thought that might have been close to the lowest winning score of the season. It is, in fact, the lowest score this season by Central District, the 4-4-28, beating Norwood's 5-9-39 against West Adelaide this season, thanks to Ian Mogridge for yet another stat that he's produced.
He's a magnificent statistician, Moggy.
Now, where does this leave Port Adelaide? Do you see Stephen Williams continuing?
Well, I think what Port Adelaide have got to do, they've got to keep this core group of players together. They really can't afford any of their players to leave the club, like your Plaps, like your Evanses, like your Binkers. They've got to keep them included. And it's up to the CEOs and the hierarchy of the Port Adelaide Magpies to keep that core group of players and then go on day. And when you say recruiting spree, you recruit quality people to a club, not quality players, because sometimes when we've seen in SNFL clubs, they recruit quality players, but sometimes they don't fit into, I suppose, the traditional, the environment of a certain club.
Well, I did say in the promotions in the lead up to this game that it was the club of the club since 2000, the club of the 21st century, Centrals against Port Adelaide, the club in many ways of the past.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
But certainly Port have shown they do have a future this afternoon. Well, looking ahead tomorrow, interesting game now, North versus West, because of course, West Adelaide perhaps could lose the double chance. Maybe. They could be under a bit of pressure, you never know. But that's the match to complete round 21. Looking ahead next week, our match of the day, the Eagles against Central District, and Central with that loss this afternoon would be wanting to get back into form. The Eagles, of course, beating Norwood last night to shore up their spot in the finals. That'll be from 2:30 next Saturday. Let's look at the other matches. Glenelg against West, Norwood against South, and if Sturt beats North Adelaide, Moggy, what does that mean? That puts Port out for all time.
It certainly does. North would need to win by 13 goals for Port to have any rough chance.
Well, there you go. You might as well say that's it Well, that's certainly it for this afternoon. Port Adelaide, a big victory here at Elizabeth, beating the Central District Bulldogs by 34 points. Thanks for joining us. It was a tough battle, wasn't it? But it was something to see. And we'll join you next week, as we said, for that match between the Eagles and Centrals from Woodville from 2:30 Saturday from Elizabeth. It's good afternoon.